Hello everybody, welcome into our latest live broadcast. It's Tuesday, the 3rd of December, 2024. My name is CareyHolzman, and today we have a new mini PC review, but this one is not like the others. This is from the folks at Minisforum. They've created a high-end gaming brand. Well, I guess it's just a high-end mini PC brand called AtomMan. So there's Minisforum, there's Klipsch, and there's AtomMan. Now this looks like it's a laptop, doesn't it? What's inside of this box is pretty amazing. It's a 14900 processor, the HX. That's a, trying to remember, 8 cores, 16 threads with 8 efficiency cores. It's got like 24 threads. I have to look at it. It's supposed to have 32 gigs of RAM and 1 terabyte just ready to take out of the box and start using. And I can't wait because this thing was on back order for a long time. We actually paid for this through the channel contributions. And this, I'm hoping, will become my new main office machine. However, oh, it's also got a 4070 discrete graphics card in it, laptop, mobile chipset. And yeah, I can't wait to dig into this today. In the meantime, let me say hello to everybody joining us in the chat. Thank you guys so much for hanging out. Mark Baggett, David Graham, Andy Kane. There's our friend Buster joining us from Scotland. Peter Laycock contributes 10 pounds. He says, good evening, Carey and Mara, everyone in the chat. All the best from Bonnie, Scotland. The temperature in Edinburgh is 41 degrees Fahrenheit or 5 degrees Celsius. Here in Phoenix today, it should hit 82 degrees Fahrenheit. Wow, it's supposed to cool down a little bit. It went the other way. I'm not complaining. Buster, hopefully you got some emails from me last night. If not, check your spam folder. And also hello to William Denton and Phil Stodd. Planet Cryos says hello. Mark Gaines joins us from Northern Ireland with a 20-pound super chat. Says hello, Carey, Mara, and everyone in the chat. Temperature is 41 degrees Fahrenheit or 5 degrees Celsius there in Northern Ireland. Charlie Purdy with a $10 super chat and Planet Cryos with a $5 super chat. He said, this is where the good feeling is, right here. Go, Carey, go. Well, thank you. Thank you, Planet Cryos, Charlie Purdy, Mark Gaines, and, of course, our good friend Buster for your support and your generosity. And, yeah, let's not waste any time. I'm super anxious. This has been sitting here for like a week, and I have not unboxed it or opened it in any way. So we're going to do everything live together. We're going to share this experience for better or for worse, and it better be for better. Because, man, there's nothing worse than getting your hopes up and then being disappointed, right? But I fully expect this is going to be amazing. Let's go over to the website, I suppose, is what we should do. And let's talk about a little in detail what's supposed to be in this box and what we're referring to. So if I jump over to my screen capture, which is, if I can bring up the right page, just bear with me for a second. Screen capture should be window capture. Okay. And then we're going to choose our open window here. Perfect. Now, what we're going to do is look at Minisforum's website on how they're promoting this box. That's always your best gauge of where to start, right? Is just knowing what to expect. Now, you might say this format looks a little familiar. This case, haven't we seen this case somewhere before? Hold that thought. Let's get back to that. You'll see they offer this in a couple of different versions. We have the i7 version and the i9. Come on, guys. You know I'm going to get the i9, right? You can order it Barebone, and you can see it's pricey, right? You're at $1279 if you put your own storage, RAM, and operating system on it. Or you can order it the way I did with 32 gigs of RAM and a 1 terabyte SSD at $1439. But you got to remember, subtract out the price of a 4070 graphics card, right? Before you think, well, that's a crazy price. That's actually a very inexpensive price for a similarly equipped desktop. Now, a desktop is going to be using higher powered desktop parts, which will clearly outperform this because we don't have a lot of room for cooling in here, so we've got to keep things a bit mild on the performance side, but at the same time, don't turn your nose up at it because this thing should be incredibly capable. And of course, a desktop would probably set you back at least $2,000 to match these settings, specifications. Now inside, it's fully upgradable with replaceable RAM, obviously, or they wouldn't sell a bare bones version. You've got the NVIDIA RTX 4070 laptop GPU built onto the board. It has two different power modes for efficiency, a lower wattage and a higher wattage mode. It's got Wi-Fi 7 already on it. It's got two M.2 drives. They're both Gen 4. We'll have to remind me to look in the BIOS. This has a really cool BIOS, unlike any other Minisforum BIOS we've seen before. It'll get up to 5.8 gigahertz. I mean, geez, oh man. 90-watt single core performance and 24 cores. Yeah, so that's 8 performance cores that have hyper-threading for a total of 16. Well, maybe not. Maybe what it is, maybe they're not doing hyper-threading anymore. This is saying 16 efficiency cores and 8 performance cores with no hyper-thread. That doesn't make any sense either. I'm going to have to look into that. That doesn't sound right. Let me think about this for a minute. 8 plus 16 is 24. And then if those 8 have hyper-threading, then that's another 8. So 24 and another 8 is 32. I had it right the first time. I should not have questioned myself. 36 megs of level L3 high-speed cache. And you can see they've already done scoring here, as well as a little more information, 140 watts on full power for just the graphics card. And then the graphics card has 8 gigs of its own memory built into it. So remember, we've got 32 gigs plus the 8 gigs on the video card. And the GPU still has a built-in graphics card. So this thing really has 2 graphics cards. And as we scroll down, we can see they've got some measurements in some games, which, again, if you're interested in gaming performance, you can visit other channels that do that. I want this for content creation. It's going to support up to 96 gigs of RAM because it is DDR5. What it's got is, I think, 50. It says it'll do 5600 megahertz. I'm not sure what speed is in there now. Of course, Gen 4 will do up to 7,000 megabytes per second. It can actually go a little faster than that. And this up to 4 terabytes doesn't exist. It's whatever the biggest size is you can buy that'll fit. There's no technical limitation. Now, cooling is going to be an important part of this because it is all high-end equipment, and that's going to require a lot of fans. That's why you typically see this kind of equipment in a big tower. But Minisforum specializes in their cooling, and like I said, in this case, you won't see the name Minisforum anywhere. It's called AtomMan, but it's the same company. It's just their higher-end products. Then if we scroll down some more, we talk a little bit about the LAN adapter on here is, well, I'm not sure. We're going to find out when we get to the ports. This does not have a lot of I/O on it, and I'll explain that here in a minute. You've got some RGB on the front that you can control. It's just this little stripe here that you can, have some, have it solid on any color you want, have it fading in and out, they call breathing, have it gradiently changing from one color to another, or have it just flipping through all the colors in motion. That's it. Those are your, or you can turn it off. Your system mode button up here, this is on the app. This is going to do the same thing as the button on the front of the case for going into a power mode or a lower power mode, high power or low power mode. It usually looks like a little fan because obviously if you go into a high power mode, it's going to turn the fans up a little bit, but it doesn't necessarily kick into high power mode unless you actually need it. So a lot of people get confused when they see buttons on mini PCs that imply that there's a performance mode and a quiet mode, and then they flip the button and they don't see any difference. Well, that's because you're not using the computer. So that high performance kicks in when you demand it. Otherwise, if you got it in quiet mode, the high performance mode will not kick in when you need it because you didn't hit the button. So don't let that confuse you. A little bit more on the app here, and this is a color wheel. You could choose all these color differences here and the brightness of the LEDs. And it stands up vertically. And you're just getting the box here. You're going to be on your own for a keyboard, mouse, monitor, speakers. Now, this is what I wanted to see. It's a 19-volt input, just like a laptop. It's got USB Type-C, which supports DisplayPort video output, as well as power delivery on this USB-C port here. This is Thunderbolt as well. HDMI 2.1, just one video output here. You've got USB 3.2 Type-A. and the RJ45 LAN, which we'll take a look at in a minute and see what speed that is. On the front of the box, you've got the power button, and below that you'll see this other button, and when the light is blue above the button, that means you're in the game mode, which will consume up to 180 watts. And when you push the button again, this bottom light comes on and becomes green, and now you're in the office mode where it runs at a maximum 140 watts. And that's how you can control it there or through that software I just showed you. These are just your RGB lights, which, you know, honestly I could do without. With or without, doesn't matter. They're not in your face. They're very subtle, so I'm okay with that. USB type 3.2 type A on the front with a long SD card reader. There's your audio jack to support microphone, headphone, headset, and then a regular USB 3.2 type A there at the bottom. So you can have multiple monitors hooked up to this, because this one USB-C port being Thunderbolt means you could put a breakout box and run like 3 monitors just off this one USB-C port with the right adapter. Those adapters aren't included, but just know it's possible. It would have been nice if they would have included, I don't know, another type of video output, but again, we're going to get to why this looks like this. All of our specs are here, both with the i9 or the i7, priced accordingly. You can buy at Barebones, which a lot of mini PC manufacturers don't offer. That means you can put your own RAM, your own storage, and your own operating system on it. The RJ45 LAN jack still doesn't tell us what speed it is. That's kind of weird. The HDMI 2.1 says it will support up to 8K at 60 Hz or 4K at 120 Hz. And it's pre-installed with Windows 11. Now, this is a brand new unit, so the reviews are still kind of trickling in. It's been advertised for some time, but they've had very low inventories. They get them in and they go right out. I think we were on the 2nd or 3rd batch that have come out. So I thought I was going to get this back in early November, and it's been a month. You just got to be patient. It's a highly wanted item right now. And over at Amazon, you can see they've got it here. If you prefer to buy from Amazon, all the same specs. This is, you know, different configurations down here. We've got the 14900HX. It says it's $18.29, but there's a $366 coupon currently offered today, December 3rd. I don't know how long they're going to offer that, but it should take it down to about the same price as the Minisforum website. And if you want to know a little bit more about the CPU, the Intel Core i9-14900HX is a mobile processor with 24 cores, launched in January of 2024. It's part of the Core i9 lineup using the Raptor Lake HX refresh architecture with the ball grid array 1964 layout. Intel hyperthreading technology is available, and it effectively doubles the core count of the P cores, not E cores, but the P cores, to a total of 32 threads. All right, so let me jump back over to the chat room and see if people's mouths are agape. We'll make sure to remind you to just do that. It's incredible. I mean, the specs on this are just amazing. Now, this is the moment we've all been waiting for. The first unboxing. Boy, that looks a lot like a laptop in there. Looks like power adapter and accessories are in this box. That would be my guess. Oh, wait a minute. This box is way heavier. So we have a box on each side of the packaging. Then we'll lift right around this one. Packed really well. It should survive even the most violent of delivery drivers. Slide that out of there. Ooh, that's heavy. And then on the inside, it looks like we have a small box of documentation right down against the bottom. Right there, a little envelope. And that is all there is. So we'll just set that. Ooh, right over there. Now, the fun begins. So I imagine one of these has the base, and the base will secure with screws. This is meant to sit upright. You cannot lay this flat or you will block the air vents, and they are critical in a machine that runs this powerful. More power, more heat. And if you want to keep the noise down, well, that's why you've got the 2 power modes on the button up front. Here it is. So these are pegs. These are not feet. These pegs go into the foot to give it stability while it is upright, so you won't accidentally or easily knock it over. And in this box, this is a heavy box. This is probably the power adapter because you need some serious power. Let's see what we got in here. I guess it was in a bag. That is box 1, just a power brick. Now the power brick does not say Minisforum on it, so if I were you, I'd get a marker or a label maker, because this is just a standard barrel power connector. And when these things get separated, it can be hard to know what they used to go with. You don't want to guess. It can ruin the device you plug the wrong adapter in. Could even ruin the adapter. Now this particular adapter, if I get my glasses, maybe I could read it. I'll tell you how many watts this is. I'll bet you it's around 300 watts. 19 volts, 14.7 amps, 279.3 watts. So 280 watt power supply. I was close. It uses a standard PC power plug, the same as most desktops. I like to see that. And they've given us a US style plug here. In this box we have what I hope is the foot. We have an HDMI cable. We have some screws for something. Ah, our foot is right here. The game is a foot. Wow, that is a weighted foot. That's good. You want the extra weight for that stability. And now I'm not going to screw this on because I want to open this up here in a minute, but we can at least seat it. Ah, that's what those 2 screws are for. It'd help if I actually turn this around the right way, I guess. Is that it? Did I not turn it around? Can it go on either way? I don't know. Yeah, it's a tight fit. There we go. All right, nothing else up my sleeve. Then we have our documentation. So the documentation is your appendix of items, I guess, that are included in the box. A PC collateral guide, whatever that is. It says, and this is really important with Minisforum computers, we do not recommend customers remove the CPU cooler themselves. Improper disassembly may damage the motherboard and CPU. Could also reduce the liquid metal sealing tightness. The liquid metal has to be applied by machine. You cannot do it by hand where it's going to last for years and years. It will oxidize very quickly. Any of those videos where you see people applying liquid metal, have them expose that in about a year. It'll all be oxidized. It has to be a super clean install that pretty much you need a machine to do. You'll never be able to make it better than it is. All you do is make it worse, and your warranty service is not provided for damage that may be caused by improper disassembly. And that's true of all warranties. So if I were you, Minisforum, I'll tell you what they've done here. They've taken a very high-end CPU, the highest there is on the shelf with that 14900HX on a mobile platform. And they have adjusted the voltage to the performance so that you're not getting the most performance out of it and you're not getting the worst efficiency. They've balanced it. They've done all the math for you. And they said, if we go this low, your power is just sipping, but your performance is too slow. If we go this high, then your performance is too high, your fans are running really loud, this thing is struggling, and your power efficiency goes down the toilet. They've curved that, right? They've looked at it on a curve, power versus performance, and they have charted exactly, they've dialed it in, where is the exact middle for the best power, for the best performance, where it runs nice and cool. You're not going to worry, well, I wouldn't say cool. When you run it really hard, it won't overheat. That's the theory anyway. Now, if this looks familiar to you, oh, and these obviously go to the foot, right? There's a screw right there and a screw right there to secure the foot. However, that foot's on there tight. It's not going anywhere. If this looks familiar, we did a video back around winter of 23 of the NUC i7X. That looks familiar, doesn't it? They're very similar machines. And if you remember, we talked about how this is a laptop that they've simply removed the battery, keyboard, mouse, trackpad, speakers, and monitor. If you open this up, this is a laptop motherboard. It even has a little battery connector on it. It's really ingenious when you think about it. Why reinvent the wheel? We have a slight color difference between the two. And of course, Intel's no longer making NUC. That's all been licensed to Asus. So now we have AtomMan, no longer in the NUC family, but essentially just an upgraded technology from the NUC i7X to the AtomMan G7 Ti. These are very similar, and you can see how they can save money by simply repurposing a design that is uniquely theirs. No one else has anything like this, and be able to do the research, development, and manufacturing much cheaper than having to retool a factory and come out with a completely different design. They have boosted the cooling on this enormously. We have a lot of vents, right? We have a vent here, 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 down here. We've got all the holes on the side here. This is a focus on maximum cooling efficiency at the lowest possible noise levels with the highest level of performance. At least that's what they say. And I believe them, because Minisforum historically has done very, very well with their cooling, and they're not just a knockoff of what somebody else is doing. They are the leader. Everybody else in this space is following, and none of the competitors have anything like this. This stands alone as, just as the NUC i7X did. It stands alone as a unique product, and while you can use it for gaming, if you're serious into gaming, you do not want a mini PC. All right, don't sit there and think that this is equivalent to a 4070 in a desktop, because a desktop's going to run with more power, it's going to run with more heat, it's going to run with bigger heat sinks, and a desktop 4070 GPU is different than a laptop 4070 GPU, because you've got to consider power consumption and you've got to consider the limited amount of space you have for cooling. But when it comes to gaming on a mini PC, you'd be hard pressed to find anything that can outperform this. If it's got a 4070 in it, they'll probably perform exactly the same as any other 4070, okay? So you don't necessarily need to run all these little game tests, because quite frankly, your limitation is on the 4070. So any 4070 mobile chip, whether it's a laptop, well, I guess it would just be a laptop, or a machine like this, all your benchmarks should be identical as far as frames per second and resolutions and, you know, AAA titles at 1080 or 4K. All that's going to be the same across the board. There's no surprises here. Now, let me go back over to the chat room real quick so I can gauge your reaction so far, because I am super excited to plug this in and turn it on. Shamim Kezviras joins us. There's our friend Luke Greenia, 3D Everything, Dan Nilsson, Frankie B says hello, Mark Leibowitz, and Dan, I said Dan Nilsson already, joining us. And let's see, we've got Richard DeFries says hello. Larry G says hello. Hey, there's Colin Hilton. Good to see Colin again, joining us from the UK. Just trying to catch up, guys. Dustin Fuller with a $2 super chat says hello to Carey, Mara, and chat. Thank you, Dustin. Buster says he received the email I sent him. He received the email I sent him. Very good. Let's see. I think I'm caught up. John Paul Bacon joining us. Charlie Purdy with a $10 super chat. Thank you, Charlie. As always, good friend Charlie Purdy. Shop Persian Rug says hello. Welcome in. There's Bradley Morris and LRCX joining us in the chat. All right, this is super exciting. I just can't wait anymore. This is it now. I've got to plug this in, and I've got to see what this is like because, you know, I've been using that Galaxy Book 3 as my main office computer, and I've got to tell you, it's a great little machine, but I don't need a laptop in the office. I need a laptop to be portable. And when I'm in the office ain't moving. So having something like this on the desk, I could put a bigger monitor, a much nicer keyboard than a laptop keyboard. I'll still use the same mouse because I have a Logitech Bluetooth mouse. And I don't really have that many applications. You know, you throw Office on this, throw Power Director on this, throw Instant House Call on this. I'm pretty much good to go. That's real easy. Let's give it some power. Plug in here. We need a keyboard and a mouse. Now, once we go through all the setup, we will open this up so we can take a look at the insides, see how upgradable it is, and take a look at the cooling, see if it's everything they make it out to be. And then I need, I'm not going to plug internet into it yet, or Ethernet, but I do need a video output. And we will plug that in right here in the HDMI port, if I figure out which direction it goes in. There we go. And this big button here should be power. Yeah, I'm getting some lights. I don't hear anything. Was I too quick? Let me jump over to, maybe it's just dead silent. Let me jump over to camera 2 here and see what the output of this looks like, if we're getting any output from it. And I'll just put myself in the corner so you can see what I'm doing. Oh, it's booting. I mean, this thing, there's no fan running in here. Like it's dead silent. I was not expecting that. I expected a whir, you know, something to tell me it's running. But there is a little tiny blue light on the power button, and then a little tiny blue light down here. If we put it in performance mode, then the light up on top, you know what? They're both blue lights. Just one's above the button and one's below the button on that performance, the maximum wattage button. All right, well, we go through our standard out-of-box experience here with Windows. So let me go full screen over here. And I guess you don't need to see me anymore, do you? Let's just get you full screen. Full screen here for me. And mouse is working, good. United States, yes. United States, yes. I'm starting to hear the fan spin it up now. United States keyboard, no secondary language keyboard, thank you. I'm going to say I don't have internet, and I'm going to tell it twice I don't have internet. Got to accept the license agreement. Oh, that sounds exactly like a laptop fan. We're going to type in, I'm going to type in AtomMan. Enter, no password, that'll take us right to the desktop. And you notice I didn't have to bypass NRO, which means we might have 23H2 on here for Windows, but we're going to check that once this is done. You never know, could have 24H2 on it, and they just maybe modified the installer in that way. And if they did, I'm good with it. Saves me a step, and that's how I do my own Windows 11 24H2 installs anyway. But there's no additional bloatware. I suspect we should have that software for controlling the RGB and the performance in the software, just like that button does. There's no external button for the RGB that I'm aware of. You have to use the software. As we go through the setup, the final stages of the setup, all of this should look standard and familiar to a clean Windows 11 install that you've done yourselves. There should be nothing unique about our install that we've seen from other mini PC manufacturers who perhaps aren't as well known. Let's just leave it at that. And in just a moment here, we should get to the desktop as it's finalizing our customization of the out-of-box experience and our specific options and choices, an account that we've created. It's got to go through and make all that and adjust to those settings. And the fan's quieted right back up again, so that was momentary. And then we're going to find out what Ethernet card this has got in it. So exciting. It's been killing me. You have no idea. I wanted to turn this on when it arrived in the mail last week because I have been chomping at the bit to get this. Here we go. All right, that's loaded up. And let's go back over to look at some settings here. Okay, so let's right click on the start menu right away. We're going to go to System. And let's just verify, yeah, Intel i9-14900HX. Right now it's running at 2.2 and it will turbo up to 5.8. 32 gigs of RAM, and the 31.7 is a little bit of RAM that's being used by our onboard video on the Intel chip. Again, the 4070 has its own RAM. We do have Windows 11 Pro, and I was corrected, that's 23H2. So just bear that in mind, you're going to need to update it, but it should be offered to us automatically when we go to Windows Update. If I close this, right click and go to Device Manager, we can take a look at what the graphics card is by display adapters. We should see we've got the RTX. The Intel isn't being displayed in here, and that's likely because it's been turned off in the BIOS. We need to look in the BIOS because we need to look at that together. If we scroll down to the network interface, network adapters, we've got our Wi-Fi 7, and that's made by Intel. And we've got a Realtek gigabit controller. Unfortunately, not a 2.5, 5, or a 10. It's just a 1. But I really think a lot of people are going to use this wirelessly. I think most people using mini PCs are going wireless. In fact, if you have a mini PC here in our chat room, are you running it wireless or wired? I'm just curious how relevant wired ports are on mini PCs these days and overall. With that, let me grab my Ethernet adapter because now we can plug it into the network and we're going to check those Windows updates. And I fully expect that we're going to be offered 24H2 automatically because 24H2 has been out long enough now that unless you have like Ubisoft software installed, in which case 24H2 will still be held back for you. But there's a few little conditions. Otherwise, it should just start being automatically offered. There may be some prerequisites to it. In other words, we may have to go to Windows Update and get a few other updates first. I don't know, let's just see. We are live, unscripted, and unrehearsed, so what you see is actually happening in real time, and I have no idea. There was no rehearsal for this, so we're just expecting it to behave a certain way, and we're going to find out together if our expectations are met or if we are surprised. In my experience, we'll get some updates. In my experience with other PCs that are brand new installs of 23H2, you'll get some updates, you'll reboot, you'll check again, and then you'll get 24H2. So this looks like it's similar to the experience I've had on others, where 24H2 is not in this list, but after we do all these downloads and installs, we'll then restart, we'll check again, and then hopefully we'll see 24H2 automatically. We can always use the Windows Installation Assistant and manually put it on there if it's that important to us. But I'm very curious. It's not really that important, it's just I'm curious, and I want to demonstrate live on camera so there's no conjecture. Everything you see is real, authentic, genuine, real work from a real working technician, and I run through these processes more times than I can count. So I hope to provide you with information that's more likely what you should expect than what you find on other tech enthusiast channels where maybe you'll see that, maybe you won't, or maybe there were steps that were edited out. We don't edit anything on the live video. This is it. This is real. This is as though you were right here in the room with me. Now, while that's updating, let me reload my browser that crashed so I can see what's going on in the chat room. David Graham said his mini PC is wireless. Peter Laycock says he's got both models as well. Peter's got excellent taste in computers. Can I just say, I am catching up to Buster. Actually, I think Buster has more RAM and storage. But you just wait. This is only day one. Phil Stodd says quiet is good. Well, remember, if you push this hard, it's not going to be so quiet. It will get as loud as a typical laptop will get under similar workload. So just bear that in mind, especially if you're sensitive to noise or you're placing it very close to your head. Something like this is meant to go on a desk. You could put it on the floor, but blasphemy. Shop Persian Rug says hello from Fort Wayne, Indiana. Welcome in, Indiana. So yeah, if you have a mini PC, out of curiosity, are you running a wire to it as far as your internet connection goes, or are you running wireless on it? We're just kind of taking a survey. I imagine most people would be wireless. In fact, the Wi-Fi 7 using the TP-Link Deco will run at an equivalent to 2.5 gig LAN connection. So if this had a 2.5 gig LAN, it'd be 6 of one, half dozen of the other. But I'm an early adopter. Most people aren't going to have that option. However, I do feel at this price point, 2.5 would have been nice. Luke Greenia says he's got wireless on everything but the Project Zero desktop build. Yeah, that's typically what I expect. But good to verify. Thank you for letting us know. Jack Kugelman says it's 33.8 degrees Fahrenheit in Toronto, Canada right now. Patrick Manny says he's got an Ace Magician mini PC and it's wireless. Phil Stodd said his mini does internet wireless, but it's wired for his NAS. I don't understand how that works. You can't have both. It's got to be one or the other. Unless you're physically plugging the NAS into like a USB port, it's not over your network. Kind of confused by that. Some piece of that, I'm missing some information there. Let's see how we doing. Still downloading here. A lot of things have installed already. These are some pretty big, well, the cumulative updates are always the big ones, so we'll be patient and wait for that. In the meantime, Mark Gaines said his Project Zero, the desktop, is wireless. So a lot of people that run desktops do not run them wirelessly, but some do. But when it comes to the mini PCs, it's the opposite. Most people run those wirelessly. Some people run them wired. Andy says, you think it's a little disappointing about the 1 gig NIC. Yeah, I kind of feel like at this price point, I would like to see 2.5. On the other hand, it's not a big deal to just add what I do with my USB adapters. I mean, we can easily add, because of that Thunderbolt port, 2.5, 5, 10, right? We just add the dongle to it. It's just the idea that you've already spent this much money for it. I don't think 2.5 in manufacturing really costs a noticeable difference between 1. So I think that's an interesting choice that the folks at AtomMan have made. I might just be in, like my laptop, for example. My laptop is Wi-Fi 7 and it runs Wi-Fi 7. I don't run a cable to it. My laptop also doesn't have an Ethernet adapter. It's really thin, right? So these thin laptops don't even have them at all. So I suppose if you want to look at it that way, you could say, well, you know, Carey, compared to what? Well, I guess I'm comparing it to other mini PCs instead of comparing it to other laptops. But this does have an Ethernet port. And if you're going to go through the trouble, why not put a 2.5 in there is all I'm saying. The cost differential, in some cases, the one actually costs more. It's my understanding because of supply and demand. Manufacturing has all moved on to 2.5. 5, and now it's starting to manufacture 10 in bulk too. So not too many people have use for 10, not too many people have use for 2.5. However, it's nice to be prepared. Again, a USB dongle is all it takes to switch that over. And with this having Wi-Fi 7, it's going to get the same speeds that I'm already getting on the laptop. It's in the office wireless anyway. So Just because I want it doesn't mean I need it. It just would have made sense to me to, give me a good quality RAM, good quality storage, good quality CPU, good quality motherboard, good quality cooler, good quality Wi-Fi, and they've done all of that, and good quality Ethernet. I guess it's not about good quality. It's just yesterday's tech. Everything else here is like modern, and that Ethernet port kind of feels a little old to me. I think that's what it is. But again, I'm not likely going to be using the Ethernet on it anyway. In fact, if I were, I don't think I could stand to go at 1 gig. Everything I do going back and forth to like video editing files on the NAS, it'd be too slow. So I would either just go ahead and keep it wireless, or I would add the USB adapter for 20 bucks and be done with it. It just means I'll likely need some kind of a USB hub. This doesn't have very many USB ports. It would have been nice to see at least 2 more. It'd be nice to have like 2 USB 4 or something like that, but it's not perfect, but it's also got no competition. So what are we comparing this against? There's not too many laptops that have that many ports to begin with. And since we're essentially using a laptop motherboard here, kind of goes to follow that. It's not going to have any more laptop ports than any other gaming laptop would have, because that's what it is. It's a headless laptop. It's been decapitated. And the benefit of that is, of course, you could put it on a much bigger monitor and it still has something very portable. And this can be dropped. I mean, much more so. It's more likely going to survive a drop since there's no screen to crack. There's no fluid to accidentally spill into the keyboard, right? Because all that's separate. So this will likely have a much longer lifespan than your average laptop, which frequently gets abused. And if you don't believe me, just go watch laptop repair videos here on YouTube and see why they're in. Cracked screens, cracked hinges, and spilled something on the keyboard. Those are your 3 main reasons. This is oblivious of that. Like, you can't do that here unless you physically pour the drink right on top of it, which wouldn't make any sense. If you spilled a drink on your keyboard, unplug the keyboard, go buy another one. Or even if it's a wireless keyboard, you don't even have to unplug it. If you had a problem with your screen, just go get another screen, right? You're not having to do any work to replace any hinges. This is going to be rock solid for a very long time. Phil Stodd says we need 2 clicks to switch between modes. Well, when I pushed the button, I did see the light move back and forth. Now, it just looks like 1 click is one mode, 1 click is the other. I think that's just the way they phrased it. And for what we're doing, it's not making any difference because we're not drawing in enough power on the low mode. So when we put it in the high mode, it's not suddenly taking more power. But I'm going to put it in the high performance mode just for while it's installing. If it starts to get, part of the install, sometimes you can hear the fans ramp up, and we want to get these installs done as quickly as possible so we can reboot, let those updates apply, and then check again to see if 24H2 is offered. Now, if 24H2 is offered, it could take a while to install. And while we're waiting, we have other things to talk about anyway, but we're going to continue to do this all live right here, right now, because I want you to see the experience. I want you to experience it with me. I want you to see it in genuine real time. So if you were to try to do what we're doing here on a similar or same equipment, you know how much time to set aside in your day, basically. When these other videos, they edit, you could put somebody's whole lifetime in a 30-second video. You can watch 30 years go by in 30 seconds. That's not how life works. It might be interesting and entertaining, but it's not real. It's condensed. We're trying to keep everything as authentic as possible to having you here in the room with me, including our conversations. So I encourage you to participate in our chat room. If you're watching us live, please join us in the chat room. All you have to do is be kind. It's that easy. Kind folks are always welcome. And let's see, we're about 45 minutes into today's video. Moving right along here. Luke said he sent us a PayPal. Well, let's check on that. We'll check the phone right quick. Yes, there it is. Luke Greedy with a $25 super chat. Right on. Thank you, Luke. Aaron A. with a $10 super chat says, thanks for doing what you're doing, Carey. Well, thank you, Aaron, for your contribution, and that helps us to pay for these things. This is sort of a dream list, like the bucket list item for me. I've always really been attracted to this thin design. I don't know why. I can't explain it. It just looks super clean and elegant. And the fact that so much power is hiding underneath and that there is not a choice. If you want a PC in this form factor, there's only one company you can get it from. And that's the way it's been since they introduced the Nook i7X, which is this thin sort of, it's almost like a big book. Thin but tall book. You'd think by now one of their competitors would have come out with something. Nobody's touched it. There's nothing else on the market like this. And there's, I guess part of Carey being Carey is I don't want to be like anybody else. I don't want to make videos that other people have already made. If I am going to make video on a, there's other reviews of the G7 Ti from people who got them before me. And they all, not all of them, but many of them feel like commercials. None of them feel very realistic with the time involved in showing all the details of how things come apart. They say, oh, the lid comes off. Okay, well, show me. Take the lid off and show me. And sometimes you can find that on one video, and then you can find, another piece you're looking for in another video, and then somebody else is just making a big advertisement with nothing critical to say. I try to combine all of that into one realistic video, which is what I go through to meet my standards for what I'm going to personally use. Now, I don't have any customers that I would recommend this to. And the reason for that is my customers don't need anything this massive. And by massive, I mean the amount of power it has. If you're doing accounting work, if you're a lawyer, if you're a dentist, if you're a real estate agent, this is total overkill. And you could buy 2 computers for those folks for their business needs than the cost of this one. But for me to do video editing, content creation, or perhaps even Mara to make thumbnails, it's quite video intensive to use the Adobe Creator Suite, things like that. This should sail through it without being a big, massive, like Mara's got the big Thermaltake Apache helicopter case that must be, 4 feet, 3.5 feet wide. It's got to be 3 feet tall. It must weigh 80 pounds. This is faster than that and much, much more lightweight, doesn't take up all the space. Also isn't going to have all the dust collection that a big case like that's going to have. Got a smaller area for dust, so it's still going to need dusting, but there's far less to dust. If I was a big fat guy, I'd need to use a lot more soap in the shower, right? It's just, there's more of me to wash. Well, in much the same way, this being smaller, it's easier to clean, or it should be, because there's less there to clean. So I see that as being superior if it requires less maintenance. And again, the Apache helicopter is really a showpiece. It's meant to be seen. This looks like a book. Somebody might not even realize what this is. If you had the cables hidden and it's just sitting on your desk, they might think, well, what is that? What kind of there might appear to be some kind of electronic gadget, but you tell them that's a computer, and their immediate is going to be, 1, no way, and 2, it can't be that powerful if that's that small. Wrong, wrong. So I love this, just defies all norms and really shatters previous expectations of machines that are small. And for that reason, I'm very much attracted to it. Vassos Sings and Talks contributes €2.49. Says, hello, Mr. Carey, can you make me blue? We don't make people blue anymore. That was gone a long time ago. We thank you for your super chat, though. The reason we did so many blue moderators was to help us with the troll spam and bots that we were having in our live chat videos. That has since not completely gone away, but it was kind of a fad, and it's faded. As a result, the reason people were turned blue was to help control that while I was live. So 2 things have happened since then that have been pretty major changes. One is the bots and the spammers have significantly changed jumping in the chat rooms the way they used to. They still leave comments from time to time. YouTube's taken great steps to alleviate that, but it's not perfect. Two, we now have the wonderful Marilino running the administration in the background, monitoring the chat so that we don't have the abuse that, even if it was accidental, sorry, the cat walked on the keyboard, I just deleted one of your viewers kind of thing, which was hurting my channel. There are a few people, a very small handful of people that have been with us a long time and have been very generous to the channel, or may represent a company like Minisforum that are going to be blue, and that's it. And that's the way it is from here on forward. You can turn yourself green if you become a member here, and you'll get a gold badge next to your name. And as long as you remain a member, you'll stay green. Because of the lack of what sponsors pay these days, we're relying on our viewers to help support us. So blue really doesn't benefit you in any way other than it's a color. And we've removed it universally. So you weren't just selected randomly or anything. It just changed the way the show has to be monitored because the environment we're in is changing and YouTube's sponsorship opportunities aren't what they used to be. And as a result, we're just trying to stay afloat. But don't take it personally. So long as we're making videos, that's the important thing. And as long as we've got content for you to enjoy and a community here for you to hang out with us, you don't have to give anything, but we're also not in a position to be as generous as we once were, as we're just trying to get by at this point. And hopefully things will turn around next year. Otherwise, we will continue indefinitely with the support of our community. And it's with that community support we were able to purchase this, by the way. Without the community, the members, the super chats, PayPal contributions, gift cards, this video would not be possible today. Well, Minisforum does send us a lot of review units. Not everything you see from Minisforum has been sent to us. Some items are a bit too expensive for Minisforum to just go here, or they may have fewer numbers to give to reviewers. And so they might have given me one on the last round. They're going to give it to somebody else on the next round. And then on the next model after that, because there's so much money, they don't have as many to give out for reviews. And if they previously gave me one on the previous model, you see what I'm saying? So it's got to be playing fair for everybody. And that's why we are in the situation we're in and why we're running it the way we're running it. But thank you for joining us, and we hope you're going to continue to stick around and be a more frequent viewer. Now, looking at the status here, where are we on our 25%? All right, again, these cumulative updates, they just kill me because they just take forever. Even on, you could have the best, most powerful processor with the most RAM and the fastest storage, and you're still going to sit here and wait for these big cumulative updates no matter what. But we'll just get that out of the way. And besides, it gives us a chance to chat. Luke just had another browser crash. So the browser crash, just for those of you wondering, it's a live chat memory leak that happens in all live chat videos on YouTube since March. It happens on all Chromium-based browsers, and as far as I know, even on Firefox, is Firefox Chromium-based? It is a persistent issue that all YouTube channels with active live chats. If our live chat was slower, the crashing wouldn't happen as often. It's just running out of memory and it's crashing your browser. You can just hit the refresh button. If that happens to you, it'll bring you right back. But we can't do anything about it, nor can any other YouTube video with a live chat room. It's just where we are right now in the browser status. Google's got to fix this. I don't know why they haven't yet. Complain to Google, hit that feedback button, make sure Google knows your browser crashed. The more people complain, squeaky wheel's going to get the grease. But not enough people have complained clearly because Google has let this go on this long. So who knows? But it's not just you. There's nothing for you to fix. There's nothing for us to fix. There may not be anything for YouTube to fix. Maybe. It's a browser problem. So either way, Google owns YouTube and Chrome. So one way or another, it's Google's problem to fix. If you want to Google your own research, you can type in the search engine live chat memory leak browser crash, something along that lines. And there's plenty of people talking about it since March or April of this year. There are some browser add-ons that supposedly fix this. You might try those, but use them with caution. For all I know, they could be viruses. I don't know. Over on GitHub, and that might work for you. John Paul Bacon wants to know if the government should be allowed to buy Chrome. I don't really think it matters what you think. I think people who want to control what the government can or cannot do, and they're very passionate about that, need to get a job in government. You need to get inside and have your word mean something. For those of us that just sit here gossiping like, you know, people at a water cooler, it might be interesting conversation, but it has no impact on the world around us. So I would much rather talk about something that has an impact in our lives, or can potentially. But I don't think that discussion will make any difference in whatever our government decides to do. It's well without our, in most cases, well without our consideration. And that's why we put the government in place, is so we don't have to make these decisions, right? We have other things going on in our lives. We vote for representatives here in the US to represent us, so we don't have to get involved. And now we're seeing a reversal in our culture. We want to micromanage all these people we just voted for, and we want to do their job for them. I suggest running for office if you really care. Otherwise, I'd rather talk about something that really makes a difference or has the potential to make a difference within our control, me personally. Because I don't really care one way or the other. It doesn't make a difference to me what the government does. It's going to affect us all equally. It's not just affecting me. It's not just affecting you. Vasos with a €5.99 contribution said, here's some for your Gatorade. Thanks for the videos. We owe you. I would not have a PC tower without you. Keep up the great job. That's very kind of you, Vasos. Thank you so much. We appreciate you, my friend. There's Ron Hillier, a friend of mine in real life that we used to hang out together all the time. He joins us in the chat. Peter Laycock, our Fred Buster, saying good night for the evening. Hey, Buster, have a good evening. Thank you so much for popping in and saying hello, and for all of your kindness and support and your friendship, most importantly. Eugene Ildago says hello. Bill Stott said, I currently have 2 computers running 2 different browsers. He's not experienced any crash, but he might start suspecting it might be an ISP problem, not YouTube. Well, I mean, at this point, anything's possible. Given that people around the world are all experiencing this problem and they don't have the same ISP as me and they're not related in any way to my ISP, I doubt it, but I've been wrong before. At this point, it's my understanding it is a browser issue, again, on the research I've done, and then there are browser extensions that address it. I don't know why somebody might not experience it without. Well, it's sort of like when the pandemic hit, some people like myself never got COVID. Now, is that because I've got something in my body that makes me immune? Or is it that because I never leave the house? Probably because I never leave the house. But certainly there are people that get the long COVID. There are people who never get it. And there are people who are naturally immune to it. And scientists want to study those people who don't get it, what's different in their blood from everybody else. And in much the same way, if you've got a browser setting or a configuration and you spent enough time in live chat, which means you're here in live chat for about 2-3 hours, and it has never crashed in those 2 or 3 hours, and then you come back and do that again, and after 2 or 3 visits, you're just steadily watching 2-3 hours, 2-3 days in a row, and you're not experiencing a browser crash, then you would be that patient that I'd want to take a look at your browser config, your PC config, and find out, you know, what drivers you're using, what's different, why is your experience different. I don't believe it's the ISP, but again, I don't know what it is. I'm just speculating. And my speculation comes from the diagnosis of other people online, which again, could be geniuses or morons. I really have no idea. That fan is really cranking up right now. I don't know if you can hear it. Feels like the air is coming out the top and rear vents. One of the common concerns I hear from people is, I have a gaming PC, but it makes my whole room hot, turns it into an oven. So they're looking for a mini PC, but what I often hear them say is, you know, I want a mini PC with Oculink or Thunderbolt so I can put an external GPU on it. And I'm just like, dude, the heat's coming from the GPU. It doesn't matter if it's in a, you know, if you're going to put your GPU, this giant, massive, power-sucking 3-fan monstrosity of a graphics card into an external dock because you're trying to cool your room down, that was the thing that was generating the heat in the desktop. When you go with a mobile processor, with a mobile GPU, you're dealing with lower voltages, less power. Obviously, you're going to get slightly less performance. And the heat coming out of it won't be as extreme. So if that's a concern of yours, where it's creating too much heat in the room, you definitely want to look for a mini PC that has a mobile graphics chip in it, whether that's AMD Radeon or if it's NVIDIA RTX. That is going to be the thing that changes the temperature of the room. Now, I wish it was that easy to heat up a room that all I had to do was plug in a PC. I don't know where these people are living, but I've never been in a room in a house that was hot because of the computer. I've been in a room that was up against an outdoor, you know, a window where the sun was facing the window, and that room got hotter than the rest of the house. That's frequent. And it wouldn't matter if you had computer equipment in there or not. It's put some curtains up. Even then, that here in Arizona, they can still be very, very warm in that one room that's facing the sun 12 hours a day in the summer. In which case, don't put the computer in that room, because just being in the room without a computer would be too hot. On the other hand, if you're in a colder climate, wouldn't it be great to just turn your PC on and you could warm that room up? Think of the money you'd save, you know, with heat. So I don't get this. There's people talking online. I'm not quite sure they're stable. Or maybe they have an environment that I just can't picture in my head, and maybe they're absolutely right. I just can't imagine it. Now, if you've got multiple computers running, say 4 or 5 in a small room, absolutely you can feel the heat of that. But who's got that kind of money? Let me be your friend. I mean, holy cow. 4 or 5 gaming computers, most people can't even afford one. 4 or 5 of these will set you back about $7,000, $8,000. So doesn't seem likely it's going to be a problem, but I'm here to help. I just need it to make sense. I need to be able to understand the problem to solve it. Let's see. David Graham with a $2 super chat said, I use my PCs to warm my room. You notice he used the plural. He didn't have one PC to warm his room. Multiple PCs. That's what Lugrenia says. The new heat pump would just power up the PC. Hey, get the laser printer going too. Just get everything that generates heat. Maybe just plug a toaster in. I don't know. I got to call you. Here's a problem. Every time I put toast in my toaster, the toaster gets hot. Well, the first problem is you're supposed to be putting bread in a toaster, not toast. So let's solve that problem first. Might be a little nitpicky on there. All right, let's go to full screen over here so I can see what our progress is. All right, we're more than 2/3 of the way done here, so it shouldn't be much longer. We get that reboot done. Anytime you buy a brand new computer or you're reinstalling your operating system, always be sure you have the latest updates before you start putting all your programs back on it, spending all this investment of your time, putting things back the way you like it. 2 things. 1, you should have a backup you can restore from, so you don't have to do that ever again. Or if it's the first time you're doing it, do things in the right order so you don't have to do them twice. Planet Cryo says, I use my mini PC to heat my entire house. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's either not really a mini PC, but rather a massive PC, or, and I know he's kidding and I'm just kidding back, or it's not a PC at all, that is a portable fire. He's just walking around with a barbecue grill. Wherever I set the barbecue, honestly, if I put a barbecue grill in this house, it would not heat the entire house. Just the area around the grill. Have you ever been around a fire pit outdoors and you're freezing cold? How close do you have to get to that fire pit before you start feeling the heat? It doesn't like heat up the whole beach. You're not like walking on the beach and there's a fire pit down there and you're like, oh, I thought it was getting warmer. I don't know what people are thinking, man. I realize that's a terrible example, but it's kind of the same as what I'm hearing from somebody claiming that, you know, all the rooms in their house are all walled off. And somehow, you know, the one room that the PC is in is getting hotter. Maybe if their room is a closet or under the stairs, that's possible. But most normal size rooms, I don't know. That PC would have to be really pulling a lot of power for quite a number of hours, likely with the door closed to the room to trap that heat. Maybe open the window. I mean, we have very simple solutions is all I'm trying to say. Let's go ahead and restart this. Anyway, yeah, I mean, if I was worried about the room heating up, I would simply open a window and let the cooler air in. It was already hot outside and I'm running the AC and that room is still hot. There's probably a cooling issue, or we're back to the window facing the sun and you need to put more insulation, protection over the window, you know, like blackout curtains, shades, or even window film or sunscreens to cut down the sun and coming into the house, and that's going to significantly make a difference to the heat of that room the sun is hitting. At least it does here in Phoenix. Ask me how I know. Sunscreens are one of the best investments I ever made to my electric bill, I'll tell you that. And the house looks really cool because with these dark sunscreens over the windows, the house looks like it's wearing sunglasses. It really does. It also gives you privacy. People can't see in through them. Maybe at night, if the windows were, if the curtains were open and it was dark outside and there was a light on, then people could see in. But during the day, it's just like trying to look at somebody's eyes with sunglasses on. You cannot see through them. So you've got more privacy. It has a bigger impact on the cooling of the house than insulation does. And you'd still use curtains, don't get me wrong, but it reduces the intensity while at the same time making the house look far more attractive. Once you do that, and have whatever mini PC you want, you probably wouldn't notice any heat difference in the room. So it's like trying to solve a problem backwards the way people are talking about replacing a PC because of the heat. But again, if you want to do it your way and that's your solution, then what you want is a mini PC that has a built-in mobile graphics processor, and that'll solve that problem. But keeping your graphics processor and taking it out of your desktop just to put it in an external dock, that's your heat source. It's not the PC that's ever been your heat source. It's always those graphics cards. Just look at the wattage they use. Higher the wattage your graphics card uses, the more heat it's going to put out. Real simple. The more horsepower your car has, the worse your gas mileage is going to be, at least on an internal combustion engine. Now, as we reboot here, we're going to check Windows Update one more time. Also, you're getting an idea of how long this takes to boot, keeping in mind it's still finishing the install of updates. So this is not a true clean reboot because updates are still installing, but you still get an idea of how fast it is. John Paul Bacon said he had a PlayStation 3 and it would heat up his room 24/7. You never turned your PlayStation 3 off. You played games 24/7. He says, I barely ever had to open my vent cover, even in the winter. Well, sounds like a benefit. I don't have a PlayStation. I don't know. Seems like that'd be an awfully small room. Or you're playing a lot of video games. Maybe try sleeping. All right, another hopefully final boot here. No, it's still doing updates. These are important. Let them work. Don't interrupt them. Be patient. Find something else to do if you're impulsive. it'll wait for you when you come back. And this is really critical stuff here. We absolutely want to make sure that if this is a machine we're going to rely on from day to day, we want to make sure we build it strong, that the foundation is strong. This is not a place to be cutting corners and saving a nickel or a dime of your time, trying to rush through something and then end up having a PC that has problems because you didn't allow things to complete properly or you interrupted the process, corrupting files, and then good luck diagnosing that mess. So just, again, be very patient on an original first-time setup, even if you're building it yourself. Looking in here, we've got the Thunderbolt Control Center here. We've got the AtomMan Control Center, which is what I think was shown on the website. And I think it's still doing something here. It's loading. Let me change these taskbar settings back to, oh, there it goes. Yeah, it was loading. So I'm going to turn these off here and here. And then under System Tray Icons, we're going to turn off OneDrive. We'll turn on Windows Security, NVIDIA Container, Control Center, Woot. Yeah, I want all these on. Good. I don't want them hidden underneath this arrow. And again, here's our, lighting effects controls. We could do gradient. For settings, we've got, if you want to disable your Windows key on your keyboard, because you don't want it kicking you out of a game when you accidentally hit that key. We've got something called quick cooling, which is turned on. This is obviously going to affect the noise. And then the graphics card mode, right here, discrete graphics card, meaning our 4070. And you can switch this probably in the BIOS to the Intel graphics card built onto the CPU. I don't know why you would, but you can. Let's go back to Windows Update. Where's my settings? Right here, right in the middle. Back over to Windows Update. And let's see if 24H2 gets offered to us now. I am predicting it will. Am I optimistic? Let's find out. Everything's live and unscripted, unrehearsed. I have no idea. I am just based on experience. I think we're going to see 24H2 offered to us now. Anticipation. Windows 11, 24H2. Perfect. I love it when a plan comes together. All right, well, that completes loading. If you have any questions regarding this AtomMan PC or other technical problems that you're looking to resolve that you yourself are experiencing, or if you have other channel-related questions, this is a good time to ask while we're waiting for these updates to install. Believe me, there was a part of me that wanted to get this out of the box and do this off camera, so we didn't have to go through this waiting process during our initial review of this. But I felt like I would be doing you a disservice if I didn't set your expectations properly to just really go through this and understand what to expect, especially when you're dropping, $1,500 for something like this. Well, you can just plug it in, and these updates will happen over time in the background. I recommend you just get them out of the way, make sure everything works. Because if any of these updates fail or there's any blue screens or crashes, you want to find out immediately before you start settling in and making yourself comfortable. If it goes through all this okay as it should, then we can start building on top with confidence that we're going to move forward, likely without ever having any issues for years and years and years. That would be warranty. If you're going to have a warranty problem, it's typically going to be something that happened in shipping. That's why it's important we put it through the paces when we first get it. And since you need the updates anyway, that's a great way to burn in a new system. Not a guarantee, but there are systems that fail on the updates because RAM has become dislodged or a component has become damaged. Sometimes the manufacturer's install of Windows is a bit hanky. And it's like, yeah, I probably should reinstall my own Windows. This has never been a problem with Minisforum, just FYI, but we have clearly seen this on other machines where the install was sketchy. And you don't want to build on that. Not if not unless you enjoy, diagnosing weird problems. Start with a nice, clean, solid foundation. Make sure it updates properly. Make sure all your drivers are the correct drivers and nothing's missing in the device manager. And then go ahead and put what you want on it. One thing at a time, rebooting in between installs, because if you put multiple changes on the machine, whether that's new installs, you reboot and now you've got a problem you never had before. How do you know which of the things you did caused it? So one thing at a time, nice and steady. Slow is faster. Slow wins the race. Slow and steady. You get through it. People get anxious. They want to take shortcuts. You're going to have, when you have problems, they're going to be far more difficult to diagnose because there's too many variables now. It's your choice. Plan accordingly. Oh, there is a sale that's going on for a couple of days or until it's sold out on those Klipsch 2.1 speakers that I use to this day. I think I have about 4 pairs of these things. And they were on sale for this price like 2 or 3 years ago when I brought it to your attention back then. But over at Woot, if you're an Amazon member, let's see if I can bring this up. Actually, there should be a link in the video description now that I think about it. If we go to our video description, which is right here, scroll down towards the middle of the page, and it says Klipsch ProMedia 2.1 THX Speaker System. That link takes you to Woot. And if I share the screen with you, and this is not an affiliate link or anything, I'm just trying to share a deal with you guys I think is a really good deal. These are some of my favorite speakers ever. And the fact that these have speaker covers, by the way, they're not just bare and exposed. These will make you deaf. I mean, they are super loud. For 90 bucks, you get the subwoofer and the 2 speakers. They had a version of this that was Bluetooth, but I don't think it's, I don't think this is the Bluetooth version. They only made the Bluetooth version for a little while. Got your controls down here on the speaker for how much bass you want and how much volume. And then sub can sit on the floor. The best place to place a subwoofer is in the corner where 2 walls meet, and it'll bounce off those 2 walls and be very bassy. If you just place it where there's nothing for the sound to bounce back off of, it won't be as bassy. That's just how subwoofers and sound works. And you can see there is a limit. You can only order 3 of these at that price. I don't know why anybody needs more than 1, but they do make great Christmas gifts for anybody who loves good audio on a desktop or laptop or mini PC. That is a great price. And again, if you have an Amazon account, you can use your Amazon account to pay for it as well. Something they call Amazon Pay, which is just nothing you need to set up. And does anybody have these speakers from the last time we talked about the Klipsch 2.1 ProMedias? And if so, what do you think of them? Ron says his son has the Heritage version of these. I don't know what that means. Phil Stodd said he's not experienced a crash on any of his PCs. It's quite interesting. And what part of the country are you in, Phil? Are you in the US? I would find it difficult to believe it's an ISP issue. Data's ones and zeros are still ones and zeros. So I think it's an issue with how Chrome is handling the data being sent to it through whatever programming they're using on YouTube. But again, it's anybody's guess at this point. There are some browser add-ins that are supposed to fix this. People have had mixed results. For some people they work, for others they don't. But hopefully we'll get an answer to it before too long. In the meantime, if your browser crashes, just hit the refresh button. It'll come right back up. In fact, sometimes people fall behind in the video and they don't realize it. And if you're not sure if you're watching right up to the very second that we're live, that you're not lagging behind, you can hit that refresh button and that will correct that as well. Just an FYI there. All the links for everything we're talking about today are in the video description below the video. And our thanks to all of our members for making today's video even possible. It is my intention, to be clear, that I really want to use this on a daily basis, rely on it, and do a real thorough review and let you know what it's like to live with. So if we complete everything on today's overview/review, then it'll immediately go into service here. If we run out of time and I'm not able to do everything I want to do because we still want to open this up, but waiting on these updates is taking a while, then I'll set it aside. We'll do a part 2 where we open it, if that's what it comes to with time. And then once all that's complete, then I will deploy it for my own personal use. Well, it's not personal use, it's for office use, for maintaining the YouTube channel and the emails and all the business side of things and all the Amazon ordering I do. Right now, that's all being done on the Galaxy Book 3. And I have a big monitor that I've moved over from Studio B that I've not been able to use. I'm not willing to use it on the laptop. So with this, I don't have a choice. I can't be lazy and say, I'm not going to hook up that big monitor. Andy Kane said that is a good deal for $90. Phil Stodd says he's in New Jersey and he does not use Chrome. The problem is it seems to be Chromium-based issue. So since so many browsers are based on Chrome from Edge and others, Opera, whatever browser you're using, it's pretty rare that they're not Chromium-based. But what browser is it, just out of curiosity? Samuel Kowalski says, sleep? What's that? That's a fair question. Something we do when we're dead, I guess. Giordarte says hello. Hey, welcome in, Giordarte. Good to see you. He wants me to check email. All right. Again, I want to encourage questions in the chat. This is the time to ask. This particular update can take a while, so we're just here hanging out, guys. We've ordered at the restaurant. We're waiting for our food. Think of it like that. And so, well, the food is a-cooking. We're sitting around the table. Let's talk. Oh, wow. A lot of messages have come in while I've not been paying attention. This person is trying to reach out to me, and I'm going to respond since the chat room is being quiet. This person wants to talk to me. And Giordarte sends an Amazon gift card of $50, and he says, Carey, enclosed are contributions for your amazing live stream on YouTube. Keep it up, my friend. Giordarte. Giordarte joins us from New York. Thank you, Giordarte. Charlie Purdy with a $100 Amazon gift card. Ooh, I'm loving the generosity. Thanks, you guys, so much. Thank you, Charlie, as always. Super generous. I have a couple of upcoming builds that, well, let's see. We've got the Ultra 7 build. We still have to put it into a case and figure out what power supply we're going to use. I think I've got that all sorted, and I'm waiting on parts. The Asus ProArt build did have bad RAM. New RAM has come in, but now I'm waiting on the power supplies, which I don't think will be here until Thursday. I only need one, but I ordered two because they were a great deal. Asus 1000 watt modular power supply. So that may not get finished this week based on, whenever Amazon delivers the package. Also, I have another 13500 baseline build, budget build, to put together using the same parts, the ASRock B760 Pro RSD4. DDR4 is a little cheaper. That's easily a 10-year build. That instead of an 8-year build, they are now 10-year builds based on technologies. The software's been slowing down, but the hardware keeps getting better. So you could easily expect 10 years out of one of these 13500 or 14500. All of the issues that those chips had have all been resolved as long as you make sure you put the latest BIOS update on. There's no more instability or issues. So you can boldly choose those chips. All of that stuff is now in the past. It's all been resolved. Speaking of that, the CEO of Intel, Pat Gelsinger, who was an engineer who worked his way up in the company, has been in that position for about 4 years and has only made things worse. Like, I was so hopeful that an actual employee that worked their way up would do better than some MBA college degree person who knows numbers, but doesn't matter if it's Arby's they're running or the Hilton Hotel or if it's Intel. The numbers all work the same no matter. When you're that high up in the executives of a suite of the company, the C-suite of the company, it's all about the numbers. You don't really have any hands-on with how things are made or customer service. You're so disconnected at that level. All you're looking at is answering to your investors and explaining to them how much money they should expect to make this quarter, and if not, how come? And when can we expect our money? Because otherwise we're going to take our money out and go somewhere else and invest somewhere else. And then you don't have a company anymore if they all do that. It's a very delicate place to be, but it's, as an employee, very frustrating when the people making decisions don't have a clue what you do. But without you, the company wouldn't have any customers or manufacturing processes without the people who do the work. That's why shows like Undercover Boss are quite interesting to people, because it's pretty rare that a CEO comes up from the ranks. Like they go, oh, this is how you make the French fries? I didn't know. Right? What they're doing is so higher level. It's all pencil pushing. And there's a lot of politics and bureaucracy in handling what your investors are demanding. More or less, it's my understanding Pat Gelsinger didn't want to quit or retire, but they'd had enough. So to give you an idea of the sort of what I can only speculate, because this happens quite often, is you have all these people that pour in millions of dollars with the hope and the promise that they're going to get back millions back. I'm going to give you X amount of dollars and I'm going to get multiples of that X back. How? By having a company that you hire employees for at the cheapest possible rate in most cases to get the job done in every area of marketing and human resources. And you got to provide medical insurance, you got to have a building and all the power it takes and maybe a cafeteria. All of these things plus the equipment required from computers to engineering design to computers that control manufacturing, the maintenance of that, the packaging, the distribution, all of this. All this happens, so these people up at the top just pick right off the top. They pick the fruit of that, all the effort that's going into making that tree grow and nourish. And it's not a real fair system, right? The people that work the hardest typically get paid the least. And the people at top who do the least, they're just making decisions based on money. Do we put money into this or do we not put money into that? Do we need more money or do we just need to just close a few departments of the company that aren't profitable? Instead of fixing them, let's get rid of them. So Intel's done that over and over with their SSD division, now owned by SK Hynix. They got rid of the NUC division that's now licensed by Asus. They shutting down left and right different divisions, Optane and Rambus. This has historically been a thing, and it's cutting cost. The problem is if the doctor says you've got to lose weight, so you chop off your arm, well, you definitely lost some weight, but you only have one other arm. And when you chop that arm and the two legs off, there's no more chopping that can be done. You're out of things to chop. I think it's a pretty sick way to go about resolving a problem, but it's fast. You can get the investors what they want by chopping parts of your limbs off. It's brutal. It destroys families and communities, like what Ford did to Flint, Michigan. Ford and GM. Generations of folks working loyally with the car manufacturers who decided, their investors decided, we're not making enough money here. It's costing too much. Take it to Mexico, take it to Canada. And that's what happened. And then because the entire city more or less relied on that income, that meant all the restaurants that was feeding those workers, all the hardware stores that was providing the workers for the projects they needed, for the tools they needed for their own homes, to fix their homes up, lawnmowers, everything you need to live your life. Grocery stores, they all went out because everybody worked for the car companies. None of these supporting businesses could stay in business when nobody had any money. And then the town, you know, it just got worse. It became almost like it's not as bad today. It's still got some pretty rough areas, but it used to be a very nice place, very upscale. And it's clearly not upscale today, and they're still recovering from that because they had all their eggs in one basket. And it's not like Ford wanted to do it, or Chevy, or GM. They just were forced to by the investors to start getting us more money. And the cost of health insurance, the cost of rent, and the cost of the employees was much higher here in America than if they would open it across the border. That's how it works. So Pat Gelsinger, without much notice, my understanding was you could be fired or you could quit. But one way or the other, the board wants you out. We're tired of waiting for our investments to come back to us. You've had 4 years. Nothing's any better. And we've decided that that should have happened by now. I don't know how they make up their mind. They just decide you should have been able to do it. And after 40 years in the industry, working his way up through Intel, becoming the CEO is what caused his retirement. If he had never become the CEO, he still might be working as an engineer or higher up in the management. But because he's a CEO, there was a lot of pressure on him, made the company look bad with the 13th and 14th gen issues. The Ultra, the new Ultra 7 and Ultra 5 and Ultra 9 launch did not go well. He has made a lot of bad decisions, quite frankly. I don't know what he's thinking. And it's the last thing I expected from somebody who worked their way up, because you'd think he'd be thinking on behalf of the employee. But maybe that's what caused it. Maybe you cannot think like an employee in this industry. Maybe you have to think like an MBA and just be clueless about what your company does, if that's what it takes to be profitable. Lisa Su over at AMD, she's an engineer. She knows exactly what her engineers are developing, whereas most MBAs don't have a clue. So she proves that, yes, you can be an engineer and be a successful CEO. So clearly Pat Gelsinger just didn't have what it takes to be the CEO. But for over 30 years as an engineer, clearly knew what he was doing. So the whole thing is bizarre to me. It doesn't fit logic. An engineer should logically be able to operate the company in a profitable way that makes sense. How many times as an employee have you ever said, why is the company doing it like that? We could save so much money if we just did it this other way. And you would think, at least I would, that moving up in the company where you could actually put that into place would save the company money. But that's not what Pat Gelsinger letting people go left and right, that's not what an employee would do, is it? Yeah, you know, if we could just get rid of this whole division, we just fired all of my coworkers, just keep me. Company would be more profitable. I suppose there are departments in companies that other employees not in that department go, we could do without that department. But in my personal experience, I haven't seen that very often. Usually when that happens, when they shut down a department, that means your department's going to do their job now, and you're going to just have more responsibilities with no pay raise. And if they get rid of that department, that means you're going to have to work harder because somebody has to do that job. So that's going to fall on your department now and be split up amongst the employees, such as yourself, to now take on these additional responsibilities with no additional pay. Hence, profit goes up, you work harder. So be careful what you wish for is all I'm saying. Pat Gelsinger should have known better. So disappointed by that guy. Just one bad decision after the other. So good riddance. Good riddance. Let's hope they get somebody in who starts steering the ship properly because, you know, Intel, they can recover from this. They certainly have the ability, but somehow they've lost their navigational skills. It's literally turning the ship around. They're just pointing in the wrong direction. Once they correct that, and they do that in a timely manner, things will get interesting again from AMD and Intel's competitive perspective. Mark my words. Phil Stodd said he's using Firefox and Ghostery. I also tested 24H2 with Edge. It's not crashing on any system. Very strange, but we'll have to just follow up and find out what's different about Phil's system than everybody else. Because as far as I know, anybody who's hanging out in the chat for hours, it's happening universally worldwide, regardless of the browser. However, that's just based on the information I have. This is new information. There's got to be something there. Maybe he's got a browser extension none of us has that's fixing it. I don't know. Mark Gaines said in Amazon UK, those Klipsch ProMedia 2.1 speakers are 219 pounds or 220 pounds. That's, yeah, 3 times more money, and the British pound is worth more than a US dollar. That's weird. But this isn't sold. Like if I look at Amazon for those Klipsch speakers, they're a higher price than what Woot. Woot is a special discounting page, and they work with Amazon, and I believe they work with other retailers, but they get unique pricing for items for various reasons. And the only way you get that pricing is through them. If I look on Amazon right now at the price of those speakers, I guarantee you they're not at the Woot price. I don't know what they are, but we can look. Let's take a look at Amazon. And I mean, these speakers have been around for what, 10 years or long, probably longer than 10. It's just a good design. When the manufacturer hasn't changed the design of a product they still sell today for over 10 years, it's because there's nothing to improve. Klipsch ProMedia. You might check klipsch.com and see if you can order them direct from Klipsch. So here at Amazon, they're $116, so about $36 more than Woot. And if we go to Klipsch, what is the name of the website? Klipsch.com is what I think it is. And if we share the screen with you guys here, you'll go to speakers. And we're looking for, well, these would be powered speakers. Oh, I see the Heritage Ron was talking about down there. We're looking for the ProMedia. So see down here, Heritage inspired subwoofers. Anything say ProMedia? We've got some kind of browser issue here. There we go. Sometimes, like when you see the specials we talk about, and they sell out, or you have a different price, go directly to the manufacturer's website. That is a little tip from your Uncle Carey. I don't see the ProMedias. They're in here somewhere. And it's not Dolby Atmos, it's going to be THX. TV soundbars, entertainment centers. Should be speakers, and I mean, it should be powered. It's sub. I mean, that's where it should be, powered speaker. They do plug in, they do need power. And I can just tell by looking at the pictures, none of these are what we're looking for. These are home audio, like for an entertainment center. We're looking at computer. You could use these on an entertainment center, by the way. They're really designed to be used on a PC. They're very, very loud. So they could be placed in a living room and plugged into your television easily. They would do the job, but they're not the speakers here are better designed for that use case scenario for both looks and sound quality, and even 4.1 or 5.1 or 7.1 surround sound, which you're not going to get on the Klipsch. Powered and subs. Yeah, these aren't them. Let's just do a search for ProMedia. That'll be the quick way to find it. There they are, right there. Same price as on Amazon. So that makes that Woot deal all the more attractive, right? Because here, you're getting the same speakers for $26 less. Same exact thing. Free shipping either way. But if it's that pricey in the UK, maybe see if Klipsch sells to the UK there, or to Northern Ireland, as the case may be. Now, looking here, estimated deliveries the 12th through the 16th, and then maybe if you order from Amazon, you get your delivery faster. This one says free ground shipping, so that's not going to be as fast as Amazon. And if we go back to Amazon and take a look at those Klipsch ProMedia 2.1s, at 116, they're a little bit cheaper. And yeah, it says it could show up as soon as, if we order it within about 24 hours, we'll have them Friday. Today's Tuesday. That's pretty good. I'm not quite sure if that's going to be any different. But these speakers, I cannot say enough good about them. There they are with the speaker cover on. They are loud, clear. And again, the same model of speaker has been made over 10 years. They're no different than they were 10 years ago. That's how good they are. They can keep making them the same. And of course, with scale, the prices come down. When these were brand new, to get them at $250 back 10 years ago was a steal. And by the way, $250 10 years ago is like $300 or $325 in today's money. I'm just saying, not only are they cheaper, the dollar's worth less now. So that makes them even cheaper than that. And that is the economy of scale right there. If you can just keep making the same thing and you don't have to improve it because you've done it right the first time, well then this can obviously reduce cost of production and the price can go down, making it more affordable for everybody. Let me jump back over to our chat room. Phil Stodd said he has no idea why he's not crashing. He's just letting us know. No, I appreciate it, Phil. I mean, I'm just baffled. I don't know what to say. Something's different. My friend Ron said he uses Chrome, no crashing there, and he's got the same ISP I do, so that's clearly not an ISP issue. He's just on the other few miles down the road. Patrick Manny saying no crashes so far using Firefox 133. I have gone through, I've done shows where we haven't experienced crashing, but mostly there will be at least one crash during a 3-hour broadcast, usually. Sometimes we get through a show, I get through a show without a crash, but most of the time it does, and sometimes it'll crash 2-3 times. So I still don't know, but there are browser extensions. As I mentioned, if you search for the YouTube memory leak, you'll see some fixes offered on GitHub. I don't know how much you can trust them, but if it's really driving you crazy and you want to try some out, let us know what your experience is. And for those of you not experienced it, please let us know if that ever changes. Andy wants to know if I have any update on the battery replacement for the Dell XPS laptop we did earlier. Basically, it's too early to tell. It's kind of doing the same thing where you fire it up, it'll say, oh, you've got 2 hours left, and then you let it sit, and it'll say 3 hours or 4 hours are left. I started to let it play YouTube videos just to see, and after 20 minutes, it said 47 minutes was left. And I was down to, let's say, 80% battery. But then it went down to 67% battery about an hour or two later, and it said there was 47 minutes left. So it's going to take some time for the battery to train. The other thing that occurs to me is a lot of people were talking about conditioning the battery, you know, discharge it all the way, or go in the BIOS and there's an option. Apparently, a lot of you are still living in, 2005. The reason I mention that isn't to be nasty. It's to inform you that you don't have to do any of this stuff anymore. Your cell phones, if they're modern, anything taking a lithium-ion battery now, it's all built into the programming of the device or the charger to automatically condition the battery for you. So when you go into a modern BIOS of a laptop, and keep in mind, when I say modern, I mean within the last 3-4 years, when I go into that Dell BIOS, which is an 11th generation Intel chip, there is no option to drain that battery or train that battery like there used to be. Now it's automatically conditioning the battery, and you can override that to say, just give me full performance, or just give me full battery life, or just give me this, or just give me that. Or you just leave it alone where it's set to auto, and the machine intelligently decides based on how you're using the laptop when to give you performance and when to take it easy on the battery. And for that reason, when the battery first goes in, it hasn't really gotten to know how you use the machine until you've used it for a few cycles. This idea that you need to drain the battery is just simply not true anymore. This is all happening automatically. Now, if you have older hardware, older equipment, that still holds true. But in all this new stuff, you can't rely on the consumer to follow instruction. And then they're going to be pissed off and call support and cry and whine. My battery only lasted 6 minutes, because they're always keeping it charged up and they're never conditioning it. So now this all happens automatically on all modern laptops. My Samsung Galaxy Book 3, which is already a year and a half, 2 years old, it will switch from running on power to running on the battery all by itself in order to condition the battery for me. There is no overriding that. It's no longer necessary. It all takes care of itself. Because of that, for me to get any sort of an accurate idea of what I'm going to get out of that battery, I'm going to need a week or two to use it. And honestly, aside from just running YouTube on it for a couple hours, and then it got late and I needed to go to bed, and I just shut it down, charged it up, and it's back where it belongs by the bedside table. So when customers need support, I can turn it on, start using it. What ends up happening is I'll start updating, let's say a customer's got 12 or 14 computers. So it'll be after closing time, maybe a weekend or an evening. I'll get on one of those computers remotely while I lay in bed, use Instant House Call, log into it, start running Windows Update. Each computer has 2 monitors, and if I display both monitors on the laptop screen, everything's real tiny and I can't see it. So by default, the remote software gives me one monitor in one window, the second monitor in the second window, because sometimes the end user has different windows appearing on different screens based on their preferences, and I have to bounce. Like I'll go to the main screen to say run Windows Update, and then nothing happens. Oh, let me check monitor 2. I click over to monitor 2 and Windows Update is there. Once I start Windows Update, I then log into the second machine while I'm still connected to the first one. That opens 2 more windows. And I'll start Windows Update on that one. And now I've got 4 windows open for 2 machines, and I won't take it any further than that. I will do whatever needs to be done for maintenance on those 2 machines. And then when the first one is done, I'll open the third one. When the second one is done, I'll open a fourth one. And I work my way through all 12, or until it gets too late at night and I'll pick it up another day. For that reason, 3 hours of a battery life is not long enough for me. But if you're wondering, how long is a support call lasting? Why does he need a 3-hour battery on a support call? Because I'm updating at scale. I'm updating a bunch of machines. Now, there's an easier way to do that using remote management software, but I don't like that. I like hands-on. And I don't have to do this but like once every 3 or 4 months. So it's not a big deal. And especially if I can have the TV on and I click Windows Update, just glance over. Like what we're doing right now. While we're waiting for this update, I could be watching TV and I'll just glance over, still working, right? But if it's down in the office, I have to walk into the office and keep checking it. When I'm connecting remotely, that remote goes where I am, so I don't have to go to it. I can update an entire office of computers faster from my house than it would for me to be in the office, walking from office to office, even in the same building. So I can start Windows Update on this computer, then I have to get out of the chair, walk down the hallway into the next office, fire up that monitor, whatever, go to that Windows Update, then walk back to the first office and see how it's progressing, and then walk back to the, I can do it faster without any of that effort and not even having to go to the client's office. It's good to be the king. Now, my browser just now crashed. What's interesting is if you take the mouse and put it over the tab of your browser, it should show you what your memory consumption is. And what's happening on Chrome is, like, if I hover my mouse on the live streaming tab, at the bottom, a little window pops up, and at the bottom it says what my memory usage is. Right now, my memory usage in the live chat is 336 megs, which is insane. And that will climb and climb and climb. And when it gets to like 3-4 gigs of RAM, the whole thing shuts down. That's called a memory leak, and that's how you can verify what's going on with your system. You can even predict when it's going to happen. So if you're not experiencing the crashes, that means the memory usage is going to be far lower. So I'd be curious for Phil Stodd, for example, who's not experiencing these crashes, what his memory usage says right now. Is it in the hundreds or thousands, or is it single digits? Because one leads to the other. Vaso says the i3-14900K is faster than my i9-9900K. That may be true. Yeah, probably uses less voltage. It's easier to cool, but that's technology moving along, right? We love to see that, because the i3 is a lot cheaper too. This update does take a while. This is a big, major update, which is why usually I'll do this off camera and I'll just tell you I had to update it. But I need you to be prepared and understand what to expect. And I strongly recommend you do this all on a brand new machine before you start utilizing it, before you start building on your foundation. Make sure you got a good solid foundation. That means having all your security updates, all your driver updates, everything. And given that we're almost at a 2-hour broadcast, and this is as far as we've gotten, it does appear it's inevitable that we're going to have to do a part 2 on this review where we can open it up. Inside, you can change the memory. It's standard SO-DIMM memory, so we can go 96 gigs total, with each stick being 48 gig of laptop memory. We can put 2 M.2 drives in. The M.2 drives on this are stacked. So at first glance, it looks like you only have one M.2 drive. But when you take the heatsink off, it exposes a second slot. So that's a real efficient design use. And hopefully we don't have any heat-related problems stacking them like that. I think there's a heatsink between them, but we'll have to figure that out when we open it up. The Wi-Fi 7 card is a normal laptop-style Wi-Fi 7, so you can easily take that out and replace it. If there's something about the manufacturer of the card you don't like for any reason, if you want to downgrade it, you can do that. If you want to upgrade to Wi-Fi 8 or 9, whenever that happens, this machine is fully upgradable in that way. It's pretty easy to get into, though a little nerve-wracking. There are 3 screws at the bottom, which requires removing the foot. And then you pull it apart. And you got to be careful because they're all clips. I wish they'd stop using the clips. I would much rather have a couple of screws on top and let the back or the side just easily come off. We've seen that on the Ace Magic laptop. Very inexpensive, very budget laptop. Everything's easy to get into, no plastic clips. I don't know why that's so hard. The problem with the plastic clips, especially as the machine ages, or if you're not careful enough when you separate them, it's hard to know if the clip is actually coming out normal or if the clip is cracking or breaking off. It's nerve-wracking to me. And so as the plastic gets, as it ages and it gets more brittle, that's likely an inevitability. I wouldn't mind if it had, say, little grooves and slots where it opened like a door and pulled out. Something so that when you pushed it back on, it would stay level and flush. And the clips ensure that that seam is even along all the edges on all sides. There's got to be a better way than that. So apart from that little heart attack moment of being very careful when you open it to not break those plastic clips that are all the way around, it's very easy to get into. But that's it. Everything's exposed at that point. In fact, you can run the machine with the lid off of it if you want to. There's no Wi-Fi or anything, no wires attached to the lid. In fact, maybe this side that comes, I'd have to look that up. It's one side or the other. The other side stays on. LRCX said he just crashed too using Firefox. So again, if you look up at the tab, when I had mentioned it, you probably would have saw your Firefox was at over 3 gigs of memory usage, I'll bet you. Luke Greenia said he's had 3 crashes so far. He just switched to Firefox. Yeah, no, Firefox is going to crash too. But yay, try it. I mean, Ron Barnish said he crashed at 3,500 megs of memory usage, RAM usage. Yeah, you can kind of see it coming if you just pay attention to that RAM usage. I mean, I don't know what you can do to stop it, but you can at least know that it's coming. Let me check the phone here right quick. We're waiting. Frankie B sent us a very generous PayPal contribution. Thank you so much, Frankie. You're the man. Giordane, once again, thank you for the Amazon gift card. Charlie Purdy, thank you so much for your very generous Amazon gift card. And Luke Greenia, thank you for the $25 PayPal contribution. And was anything yesterday? I think I got everything off yesterday's video as well. We do have a build video coming up. Customer reached out to me yesterday, and they have a machine that I built for them a long time ago. It's a, hold on, I'll tell you exactly what it is. They're not computer folks, you know, so I just told them where to go and take a picture with their phone. So I've got an email from them with the photos. I had an email from them. No, this should be it. This should be the one. Where's my attachments? Here they are. Okay. So the customer says their computer is slow, right? And I need to know, like they want to run Adobe Creative Suite on it, and they say the Adobe won't run. It just says it won't work. And I'm wondering, is their internet too slow? So I had them run a speed test, and they're only getting 13 megs upload speed and 218 down. But then they took a picture of the little Wi-Fi adapter that's plugged into a USB port. I'm pretty sure it's the cheap Wi-Fi adapter. On the other hand, without knowing what router they've got, and without knowing what internet service they've got, and because Adobe is a cloud-based service, I don't know if this is an internet problem. So I also asked, you know, let me see what the specs are to the computer, because I don't remember building it. It was a long time ago. Well, this computer is an i5-3570 from Intel. So that is 11 generations old. I guess 12 generations now, so 12 years old, with 8 gigs of RAM. It's Windows 10 Home Edition 22H2. The problem with Adobe Creative Cloud is Adobe needs a CPU that supports something called AVX instruction. What is it called? It's a specific AVX instruction that didn't exist back then, as far as I know. And Adobe says as long as your CPU doesn't have this ability, we cannot put Adobe Creative Cloud on here. And the error, I can tell you, it's AVX Advanced Vector Extensions 2. That's what it's called. And that CPU does not have that. But that CPU also is not compatible with Windows 11. But the whole system was built on a Corsair 200R. So I said, listen, I've got prepped boards here. I've got a couple of 13500s. I said, we can take that computer, we can pull the motherboard out of it, and that means we're going to take out the SATA SSD that's in there. We're going to take out the RAM, the CPU, and the cooler, We'll dust it all out, make it nice and clean. We'll put the new prep board, which has an NVMe drive. It's going to have DDR4, which this one probably has DDR3. Heck, it might even have DDR5. I'm not sure which boards I've got laying around here, but they're already built and ready to go with Windows 11 Pro already activated. This is a pretty straightforward job. We're going to take the motherboard out, disconnect all the cables, take the board out, put the new board we've already prepped in, plug all the cables back in. We can reuse the power supply. We can reuse the optical drive. I'm assuming it has an optical drive. And if the motherboard doesn't already have built-in Wi-Fi, we'll add a Wi-Fi 7 card to it, since they're obviously using this on Wi-Fi. And then if they say it's slow, then we know it's their router. But we got to do one step at a time, and I think they're looking to get this as a gift to a family member that wants to use Adobe Creative Cloud. And obviously they've never wanted to use this before. So you can see the end user's needs are changing. And there's nothing wrong with the old computer. Physically, it boots and runs as fine and as fast as it did when it was sold 12 years ago. It's just, why would you use it? It's no longer meeting the requirements of the end user. Their needs have changed. Plus, they're going to want Windows 11. We still have a year, about a year for that. But why not just nip it all in the bud right in one fall swoop? We'll get the computer updated, get them modernized. And the difference between an i5 from 3rd gen to an i5 to 13th gen is it's a 10 generation gap, which at about a 10% improvement per generation is like twice the computer. And that should set them up for another 10 years. Easy. The beauty of that Corsair 200R case is it's so easy to upgrade into. They can keep that case for decades until the standards change. That power supply is fine. It's going to be more than adequate because we're running on internal graphics. They don't need an external GPU. Now that could change, right? If they get into like Adobe Illustrator or something and they need external graphics, we're going to have to cross that bridge when we get to it, because quite frankly, that can cost twice as much as what the computer costs. And when we do that, we're going to need to change that power supply to something beefier. So they're looking likely of being out of budget. If I know these people, and I think I do, if they express that interest after this upgrade, which I doubt, because it's got to be someone, I mean, if they've been living with this, like the new one's going to be a whole new world to them. But if even that's not enough and they want to explore external graphics card solutions for, you know, Photoshop or Illustrator or something, I kind of know what the reaction to that discussion is going to be, which is you're going to drop $1,200 to $2,000 on the GPU, and we need to spend about $150 on a power supply. And they're going to say, we could have bought 3 of these computers. Yeah, well, that's how you do it. And anything less than that, you probably just stick with the internal graphics card, because it won't make that big of a difference in most cases. Everybody's different though. But if there's going to be another discussion, like after this, like we do this upgrade, they give it as a gift, let's say for the holidays, they start familiarizing themselves with it sometime around the end of January, middle of February, or end of February, that if they're going to ask, it's going to happen right in that window. Hey, it was great at first, but now, you know, it still feels a little sluggish when I do certain things in Adobe. What can we do to improve that? And the answer is just give me some more money, or give it to somebody. And, you know, I always try and keep things as value for the money as I can, which is why I'm not selling graphics cards. There's no value in them. On the other hand, maybe they just, they get the new machine, it's a whole world of difference in performance, and they're totally happy, and there is no follow-up. We'll see what happens, but I'm looking forward to the upgrade now. We'll share that upgrade with you all. Should be relatively straightforward, just pulling a board out, putting a board in. And couldn't ask for an easier case to work on for that. With the Corsair 200R, there's no RGB to deal with, no extra cable management to deal with. Just old school, good old fashioned tech work. Eugene Hidalgo says, that's nice background wallpaper. Where can I get that? I did not get that wallpaper. That wallpaper came in automatically through Windows Update. So be sure you have all your latest Windows updates installed. And usually what people are asking is, I don't know where this wallpaper came from. How do I get rid of it? It's part of Microsoft kind of forcing the Bing wallpaper on people through Windows Update. I wasn't aware I was getting it, and it's on all my computers. So just go to Windows Update. You're clearly missing updates. Ron Barnish says in Task Manager it's showing 60 next to Chrome. That's a, well, I think you just crashed though, right? So you're starting over again. I don't look in Task Manager. I just hover the mouse over the Chrome tab. If you don't have a Chrome tab for some reason, just open a new tab and just leave it empty and just go back to your live stream tab. Just leave the mouse hovered on it. Take your hands off your mouse after about 2 seconds. It does appear our OBS disconnected from YouTube servers there. So that's not on you. And our internet has been up this whole time. So something internal with YouTube. Very bizarre. One of the things that is fun about live video, you know, we can't edit that out. That's really what just happened. LRCX said his Firefox and Task Manager. Why are you guys going to Task Manager? I don't understand. Anyway, it's showing 1,550 megabytes of usage. So as that climbs and gets over 3, somewhere between 3 and 4, it'll typically, that's where your crash is going to happen. But I don't think you need to go to Task Manager. I think you just put the mouse over the tab. It's all, it should be right there. Mark Gaines says, yeah, the stream just froze. Yeah, Samuel Kowalski is also showing the icon for that. So that was on YouTube. That was not on us, and that was not on you. It just happens. David Graham said his tab does not show menus. Be sure you click Help in About on your browser, that you're using the latest version of your browser. Also, are you using it on a desktop or are you on a mobile device or a television? I'm kind of curious if you're using the YouTube app or if you're using a browser, and if so, what browser, David, are you using? Larry says the same thing. I hovered over the tab. You need to let your mouse go. Take it out of your hands. Put your mouse right on top of the middle of the tab and take your hand off the mouse. Give it about 2 seconds and it should expand. I've seen people that they won't let go of the mouse and they don't realize they're moving it. You can't even see their hand move, but it's enough that the computer senses you're still doing something. So you need to remove your hand, take it off, with it on the center of the tab, and that should expand and show you, at least on, certainly on Chrome and on Edge, they should both do the same thing. I can't really speak for other browsers, but they're all pretty well Chromium based and work the same. But yeah, I would be curious what browser you're using, and also be sure you're using the latest version of that browser by clicking on Help in About or Settings and About. Luke Greeny says Firefox tab is not showing memory usage. Okay, I don't have Firefox, so that may be the case.
The browser, oh, like 12 times.
12 times. It didn't crash 12 times.
But I do want to reiterate that our internet connection is perfect and has been. And
No, this was a YouTube server problem because it froze for them.
Of course.
Yeah.
But I've been monitoring the whole time. And, yeah. Internet's great. YouTube, not so much.
What can you do? Yeah, this is taking a lot longer than I thought it was going to. It's a big update.
Yeah, which I find really interesting.
No, I did a 24H2. I did the same thing with another mini PC last week, and it took just the same amount of time. Like, it almost doesn't even matter how fast your computer is. It's going to take a while. Ron Barnes says nothing showing here with the mouse over the tab. What browser are you using, Ron? Maybe we have a bunch of Firefox users or something. I thought Firefox did it, though. I swear people were saying Firefox did the same thing. Andy Kane says he watches streams on YouTube using his Fire Stick. Yeah, if you use a YouTube app, then you're not on the browser, and it's a browser memory leak, right? Not an app memory leak. There is a difference. Ron said he's using Chrome, and when he hovers his mouse, he doesn't see the RAM usage. How do you explain that?
I can't.
No, me neither.
It's on every Chrome browser.
I don't think it's possible. Maybe he's on the wrong part of the tab.
You just lightly move the mouse over and leave it alone, like you said.
Yeah.
Like you explained.
I'd have to physically see that to understand it, because what he's describing, he's either misunderstanding what he's looking at, misreporting the information, or there's something drastically different about his system configuration that is not default.
Or an add-on or something.
Yeah, maybe a browser add-on he's got that's blocking it, something like that. That's not defaulted. I don't know. Shouldn't be possible. LRCX said I left them, so he's saying the same thing. I left the mouse over the tab in Firefox. Well, you don't need to leave it for a minute. He says nothing using Firefox. Not a whole lot to see there, is there?
No, and that's, I mean,
I've got the rainbow colors going on in front.
what I find interesting is you're really excited about it, and I can understand
I'm very
why.
excited because of
And
the
I
amount of
think-
power
I think
it's got.
This very, very, very minimal RGB is one of the things you really appreciate.
I
Am
do.
I correct?
I could go without it, to be honest. It just lets me know the machine's
Yeah.
on. I don't need it all lit up
Because
along
Luke
the...
and I were really
Look,
happy with the other one.
Tell you what,
and
if
and
that
gets
logo
nice.
lit up like an Apple logo, just
Yeah.
like one solid
Yeah.
color, I wouldn't complain.
Right. But it'd be too much.
No, it'd be fine.
Okay.
Could work as a nightlight, I guess.
Okay.
No, I much prefer to walk the walk than
Yeah.
to just
I know.
show off. Like you can dress the part,
Uh-huh.
but that doesn't mean you can play the part.
Mhm.
I would rather you could play the part.
Right.
That's the most important thing to me. That's
Right.
my values.
Right.
I don't care if you can talk the talk. Good for you. I want to see you walk the walk. That's the priority.
Of course.
The talk, that's bonus and unnecessary.
Right.
The walk is not negotiable.
Right.
You either can or you cannot.
Well, this is
Oh, here we
one
go.
that
We can
I'm
reboot.
not going to fight you with, or fight
Good.
with you on with. You can have it.
There's only, how many can you use?
I'll take as many as I can get, the ones that I like.
Yeah, and then do what?
Look at how many desktops you've built that I
You're like a
love,
crazy
and-
cat lady, except instead of cats, it's all computers.
Sure. Okay. Give me more.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think they can make a pill to help you.
I think I'd rather not take that pill.
Yeah.
I like my obsessions.
Yeah, it's definitely an obsession. Yeah, we're on, we haven't even upgraded your current PC. We were in the process of upgrading it, and you've already decided you want something else instead of that.
Yeah. But I like them both.
Oh, wait till
So-
you see what we do with the Apache helicopter. You're going to want it back.
Oh, but that's when I'm
There's only room for one, though.
that's what I'm expecting.
There's
So,
only room for one. You're gonna
no.
have to pick your favorite child.
There's always space for more.
Sophie's choice.
There's always space for more.
Just saying. There is not always. This is not Jello. This place is not that big, and these computers are pretty large. The three we're talking about, they're pretty sizable.
There's nothing you can say that will deter me from saying there's always room for more. Nothing.
It doesn't give you any more room.
That's not the point.
That is the point. There's nowhere to put it.
I will find what I need.
All right. Well, that discussion is pointless because at this point now you're not accepting reality, which is fine.
Reality's what I make of it.
Yeah. Well, if you can figure out how to grab 10 pounds of crap into a 5-pound bag, you let me know how that's possible.
I can make that happen. I've done it
Maybe you can
before.
pull a rabbit out of a hat. I don't know, but
I could probably make
there's
that
so
happen
much
too.
stuff and there's so much
Are
space.
you telling me I can get a rabbit?
No. Let's not go down that rabbit hole. Essential Working Too Hard says, I'll take one of each, thank you. Hey, they might have a lot more space than we have. I don't know. When this computer comes back up, We'll open Edge and I will show you. Again, if you've added browser extensions or you're not running the latest browser, if it's Chrome or Edge, you should be able to see the tab. And if you cannot, there's some configuration change you've made to your machine through some sort of an add-on or maybe a registry change. I don't know if you're somebody who, downloads and makes tweaks to downloading third-party applications to improve system performance, or those, stuff that YouTube content creators are telling you to go on your registry. And if you do stuff like that, you're going to have consequences that are different than everybody else. If you want to be able to follow what we demonstrate online, it's critical that you're not throwing on random browser extensions or making registry changes. You should never need to go in your registry, never ever. And the fact when you do that can have long-term consequences long after you've completely forgotten about the change you made. That is the most frequent reason why people have a different experience and why we can't help them, because they've made a change that is unique and uncommon, and we've never seen it before. And we don't know that they did that, and they often don't remember doing it. So the only way to really do that, to know for sure, is a complete reset of the operating system. Now, I'm not going to go that extreme because I haven't seen this person's computer, Ron's computer. I'd have to connect to it remotely. But what I can do is I can show you here on a brand new machine out of the box that we've not molested or changed in any way. We'll bring up just the Edge browser and we'll bring up the live video, and I'll hover the mouse and you should be able to see the memory usage. And customizations to your computer in that regard, like registry changes or browser extensions, may have a side effect, and you may not have realized that. It could have been a year and a half ago you made the change, and you just never knew, and now you can't remember ever making that change. So that is quite often why there'll be a difference between what we show you and what you see. Or you're using something different, right? You're using a different browser or an app, you're out of date, or you're not following the instructions properly. Any of those are possibilities. You should be seeing exactly what we're seeing in the same way if you're running everything stock the way it's supposed to be. Sometimes there's still exceptions. However, that is usually, more often than not, the reasons why there's the difference. And it's usually on the end user's end that they just don't realize. But as soon as this update is done, we'll just verify what we're saying here and demonstrate it to you, and we can go from there. It's not important. It's not critical, to be able to see your memory usage. It's just a matter of fact. And there are certainly add-ons, registry changes, and utilities that will disable that feature, any of which is a variety of countless side effects from these recommended programs, extensions, and registry settings you see online. And I strongly recommend you do not follow any of those. They are all completely unnecessary. Somebody might make a video that says, here's how to turn off all the Windows spying, and now 6 or 8 months later, you're having an issue that has nothing to do with Windows spying, but it turns out is actually an effect because you did that. So when you're using the functions within the Windows graphical user interface to disable things, that's safe. But the minute you've got to use a third-party application, you're now opening the world of your experience to all kinds of unrelated problems in the future. Endlessly. It'll never stop. This is one thing I can tell you. Those changes have consequences. And they're typically the cause. And I'm not accusing you or anything like that, but I am saying that that's usually why this happens. Usually. Something is different on your side. Since we're all using the same Windows and the same browser, then the question is, what's different on your side that you've added that we've not added? Now again, with Firefox, I guess it works differently. We'd have to download Firefox and try it. I don't know. I don't like Firefox. I don't use that. But as a Chromium-based browser, I think it should work the same, but I don't know. I mean, clearly people are not having it work the same, but at least with Edge and Chrome, I know how they work. With Firefox, I'll stay in my lane. I don't know. Phil Stott said if a browser won't work correctly using a standard config, and in other words, you have to make registry changes or browser extensions, he'd just not use the browser. That's the right answer. Yeah, I agree. David Graham said he's got a fresh stock reload of Windows. And you're using Edge or Chrome, David? David said he's using Edge. And this is Windows 10 or Windows 11? Windows 11. And when you go to Windows Update, does it say there's any updates waiting for you? If you go there right now and check updates, does it say you're current or does it say there's updates waiting? Says he's current. And then are there browser extensions installed? If you go to settings, I'm not asking you to remember, I'm asking you to physically check. So many times people, I don't know how they got on there. I didn't know it was on there. Go to your settings and under extensions, see if you've added any browser extensions or if any browsers extensions have been added. And if so, please disable them. You can always re-enable them after the test. Sometimes people put a piece of software on and it adds a browser extension without their full knowledge. Other times people add browser extensions they forgot about. They're just automatic things they do on a new install without any thought, like, oh, well, it's never had a problem before. Don't care. It's got to be disabled in order for the diagnostic to be thorough. And we're just waiting now for this update to finally finish. I don't know why the screen is green. I'm guessing that's an NVIDIA driver issue that I hope will self-correct, because that should be blue. And again, once this comes up, we'll hit Microsoft Edge and I'll demonstrate for you. This is 24H2 is the single largest update Windows has ever had. It is basically a new version of Windows. Think of it like the old days, they'd call it Service Pack 2, Service Pack 3. Sometimes it's faster to just do a clean install of Windows, you know, back up your drivers and then do a clean install, which would have gone faster than this. But then you have the inconvenience of resetting everything up by hand again, including that utility, which I'm sure we can download from Minisforum, which is a little confusing since it's made by AtomMan. You'd think you'd go to an AtomMan website, but as far as I know, one does not exist. You can see our colors are all screwed up here. And I'm just curious if I unplug the HDMI cable and just simply plug it back in, if it's a cable seating issue, and it was. So I have this bad habit, especially on brand new equipment. I'm a little too gentle with the plugs. That is a very tight fit. I don't normally have to push them in that hard. Always check the easy things first. You know, that's the lesson here. Now let me go back full screen here, and we're gonna open up Edge. Right, this is a clean install. We don't have any browser extensions. We don't have any antivirus blocking anything other than Windows Security, right, which wants our attention for some reason. Oh, it just wants me to sign in with a Microsoft account. It's not a security issue. All right, start without my data. We'll click here and confirm and continue. Continue without data, uncheck the box. We're gonna go over to UE2B. And we're gonna type in CareyHolzman. There's our video with a commercial. Yay, commercials. And then up here on the tab, you see right at the tab where it shows Welcome to Microsoft Edge, here with YouTube. This one tab is playing audio. It's at this point right now, I think it's building.
Yeah, right.
So it's not going to, I don't think it'll ever say 0 RAM usage. we need to come back, let this play, because it's an ad that's running, right? So once the video starts running, let's dismiss that. Let's skip that. Oh, good, I get to see the same thing again in my window. Just hover over the title. And so far, I'm not seeing anything. Just check. While that's running, I'm going to come over here and I want to go to Google because it should be the same in Edge as it is in Chrome. So if we download Chrome, and I'm assuming you're, well, I think he said he was using Edge. They should work the same. Let's throw Chrome on here right quick. And then I want you to see what I'm seeing, and then we'll go over to Edge and then we'll check it again. Download is complete. Now it's installing. Give that a second. Now with that big update out of the way, this machine is feeling peppy. Yeah, it feels good. It's coming up nice and responsive. All right, let's get additional features. No, I don't want to sign in. Skip. Got it. YouTube here. Back over to CareyHolzman. Back to live. Let's go full screen on this. Hover the mouse over the tab. Now you see memory usage is already at 520 megs. You see where it says memory usage there? And if we were curious, if there's a, I don't know, is there a button we have to click in Edge? Show memory usage Edge. We should be able to see it on the tab. Here they're having us go in the task manager. That's why I was so confused. Why are you guys going in the task manager when you should be able to see it on the tab? Show memory usage Edge tab. Open the browser task manager by clicking on the browser title bar and selecting browser task manager. Well, that's still taking us back to the task manager. That's Google Chrome. Edge and Chrome are so similar, I can't imagine it would be. Edge's RAM usage is incredibly high. Microsoft Edge, new RAM limiter. Edge has a new RAM limiter since March. New feature, Microsoft Edge now has a built-in RAM limiter. I don't use Edge, so very rarely anyway. Memory tool in Microsoft Edge browser. The memory tool UI can be divided. Is this an add-in? This looks like an add-in. I am so done being burnt on these add-ins, if that's what this is. Or is this built in? Multiple views, UI memory tool. Where is it? Is it built in? Is there a button we click to see it? Or is it a download? Yeah, it's a tool you have to download. So I'm in Chrome right now, and you can see my memory usage has already jumped to 2.2 gigs just by hovering on it. If I close out Chrome, let's go back to Edge. Let's see if we've given it some time here. Does it? No, Edge is still not showing it. Not by default anyway. That's interesting. I'd have to do a little more research on this because I thought that that Edge and Chrome were essentially running the same interface, but it looks like Microsoft has made some changes. The other thing I would do is if we go back to Chrome, and I'll just show you this right here. If you type in YouTube live chat memory leak, if you want to learn more about it, there's a number of discussions both on Reddit as well as you'll see Opera folks having this issue. And in these discussions is where I'm getting my information with regards to where you can watch what's... a robot is asking me if I'm a robot. In these discussions is where they're explaining to people, here's where you need to go look on your browser for your memory usage. It is a memory leak, and so when the memory usage is exceeded, the browser crashes. So I apologize if my information is not current, at least with regards to other browsers other than Chrome. Given that I'm a YouTube content creator, my whole world revolves around Google. And from what I've seen of Edge, it works exactly the same in almost every way as Chrome does, only with more annoyances. So I just stick with Chrome personally. But you'll see there's a few links to some browser add-ons. And again, I can't stress enough, I don't know if these browser add-ons could have negative side effects to any other websites that you visit, or whether or not they're even dangerous. I don't know. I'm going to leave that up to you if you want to experiment with that. If you find something that works, please let us know. And, you know, this is just one discussion that I've clicked on randomly. This is being discussed since March. And if we can figure it out, that'd be great. But it's really, as far as I can tell, it's a browser issue that we cannot fix. We can potentially patch it, but that's not the right way to fix it. So anyway, that's what's going on with that. Let me close this out, and I appreciate your feedback and raising my awareness on that, because that's all news to me. And let's go to search permissions, and I'm going to turn that little cartoony thing off down there. Turn that off. And let me check my power settings. I'm going to type in edit power plan. Oh, I love how snappy this machine is. I just click, and it just responds like crazy. I love it. Let's go back to Windows Update. There may be like framework updates and things. So we're going to go back to Settings and Windows Update. We also might want to check for a new NVIDIA driver. And I think with the NVIDIA app installed, it'll handle that automatically, or at least alert us when a new driver is available. But we do have to accept the license agreement. If you just ignore this, when it's new out of the box, it won't run fully to like let you know of updates until you accept the license agreement. So here we're on version 560.94 of an RTX 4070 laptop GPU. And if I bring up, now it doesn't matter if it's Edge or it's Chrome, like I say, they're both kind of the same. We'll bring up NVIDIA, and we're going to go to drivers. Right up here. And we've got an RTX. Let's see, do we want the gamers or create? Gamers and creators is fine. Oh, they want us to put the new NVIDIA app on. This replaces the whole GeForce experience. Sure, I highly recommend it. It's still a little rough around the edges as a brand new first generation product that's trying to combine the app and the control center, the GeForce experience and the control center into one unified app. It's not perfect yet, but they're moving in the right direction as far as I'm concerned. And if you have an NVIDIA graphics card, I highly recommend you install the NVIDIA app, and it'll automatically remove the other stuff, so you don't have the redundancy of two different, control center and GeForce apps running, which to me makes more sense resource-wise. You have the studio driver and the game ready driver. I feel like I want the studio driver because I'm not going to be using this for playing games. And oops, I didn't even read that. I just clicked next. Oh, and now it wants me to sign into an NVIDIA account, which I don't want to do. I didn't even intend to go there for this. What I was going here for, honestly, was to just look and see what the latest version of the driver was. So just to do that right quick, since we're running out of time, I'm going to click on drivers. And then I'm going to just manually go through the RTX 40 series notebook is already selected. We have a 4070 laptop GPU for Windows 11, which is only in 64-bit. That's why there's not an option there. And then we do a search for that, we can see if we've got 560 dot something. The latest is 566 dot something. And then that's the studio driver there, which we can grab. And we can install that manually, as we always have before. Or we can install the studio app, or the NVIDIA app, which wants me to sign in, which I don't want to do. But if I make it my own personal machine, I will sign into that. So those updates, it will alert me. I won't have to manually check. Without these latest updates, don't expect to get the latest performance. I mean, it's just really that simple. I'm going to close these out just to clear the clutter. And I can't tell you what the difference between what the version is we have and the version that's new, but presumably the newer one is the one that's better. A login browser tab is open. Still, let's just click agree and continue. Next. And we can close this. There we go. Okay, now that's installing, and you shouldn't have to worry about proprietary graphics drivers like the Ace Magician F2A. They modified the default graphics drivers, so you could not just download them from NVIDIA. You had to get them from Ace Magic, and if Ace Magic didn't get around to updating them, well, too bad for you. I didn't see any reason why they did that. It was just a decision somebody made. And you won't typically find that from like name brand manufacturers like Minisforum. As far as I know, has never done that. You can still stick with, you know, AMD Radeon drivers and Adrenalin stuff, nothing proprietary. Because sometimes you get that disclaimer, you know, you should go to your manufacturer to get your drivers. But a lot of times the manufacturers don't keep the drivers up to date because you got to pay an employee to do that. You got to pay a web developer to update the website. It costs the company money, and it never makes them any money to do that. So it's always best for the customer and for the company to just go ahead and allow their customers to use the OEM drivers for things like chipsets, GPUs, Wi-Fi, etc. They don't always choose what should be an obvious decision, though, but there you go. All right, let's see what else we got in the comments. Yeah, LRCX said he opened Edge in Mini PC with Windows 11, and he's not getting it there. So something is different in Edge. So again, I appreciate you bringing that to my attention, because it was my understanding that it was the same. But again, I don't really use Edge. So yes, in that reason, now I understand why you're opening Task Manager. That makes more sense to me. I appreciate your patience guiding me to that resolution. I do believe there is a way to show the memory usage on the tab, but I have to look it up. But either way, if that's the case, then it's just easier to open Task Manager. Now I gotcha. Thank you, guys. Anyway, I was going to go back to Windows Update and just check and see if we had any more updates. Yeah, they're already installing in the background. That should be the last round of updates. What I would do after, because these are very large updates, is I would run a disk cleanup. Because there's going to be a ton of temp files. Even our previous version of Windows is going to be taking up like 26 gigs of our solid state drive storage. And speaking of solid state storage, I just quickly want to check the make and model of what we got in there. And that's very easy. Right click on the C drive, we go to Properties, and under the Hardware tab, we got the good old Kingston 1 terabyte SSD. Luckily, for my usage, I will change that out to either a Beijing 2 terabyte or a Western Digital 4 terabyte SN850X. I am a little concerned about generating too much heat, but I will not do that upgrade off camera. When I choose to do that, we will film it so you can see how to get in and do the job. Then we'll probably use a Cronus to clone it over. And we do have room for a second drive in there. I don't normally want a second drive in a computer. Any data I want to store on a NAS or an external drive. I keep telling you guys, If you've got that much data, I mean, unless you're loading games on it, that's a different story. But for me to work, I need my apps installed just the same as my business clients. My business clients get all the apps installed on the local machines, and any data those local machines create or edit gets saved onto the server, so everybody else in the office can have access to it. So let me give you an example of how this works for a home user, especially if you're running a home office like me. If I come back over here and go full screen on camera 1, I've asked Mara to give us an overlay for the email address, because when I just throw the email address up in OBS, it's transparent and it can be hard to see the text over, depending on what's on the screen, right? The text is one solid color with a transparent background. And there's ways to go into OBS and change all that, but I don't want to get that involved. Just give me a graphic. So Mara sits at her computer, she creates the graphic, she uploads it to the NAS. I come out to the studio computer and I can literally go to the NAS and I can bring that graphic right up onto the screen. So we have a central point of data sharing that we no longer are reliant on what's on one computer or what's on another. I can literally take a brand new computer out of the box and have access to all my data as soon as I plug it into the network. It's that easy. The idea that I would put everything on one machine, and then if that machine won't boot or has an issue of any kind, that all the other drives in it or all the other data is inaccessible to me without opening the machine up. No, 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 no. So that's why I tell people what's good for business is good for home users, but it doesn't work the other way around. If I'm upstairs on the laptop working on something and I want to grab one of these files, it's just as fast to grab it on the NAS that way as it is at Mara's computer, my office computer, the upstairs computer, or even the streaming computer. We have one central location for everything.
Yeah, the blue and yellow worked out pretty well.
Yeah, she's got 4 different colors we can choose from there, but I just picked the blue and yellow. And
I also opened Edge and I pressed Shift Escape and I could see the tabs and I could see what memory's being used.
yeah, but that's just Task Manager, right?
No.
It's not the Task Manager?
Task Manager.
So it was specifically different.
Yeah, Shift
So let me
Escape.
do that. Hold on, let me go back over to, turn this off. Let's go back over to this machine here. Let me go full screen on my side. And we're going to open up Edge. And we'll go to UE2E.
I opened up 2 tabs just to see if I can get it.
Yeah, well, that's going to happen by default anyway. And there we are with ads. And then you hit what?
Shift Escape.
Shift Escape.
That's a
Is
browser
this what you're
tab.
looking at? CPU
Yes.
usage, network usage.
And then there's your tab.
Where's RAM?
Yep, that's your usage.
Oh, it's the first thing, memory.
Right there. Yeah.
Let's go full screen on that. Well, that's just not as easy as.
No,
What is the code? The keys?
Shift Escape.
Shift Escape in Microsoft Edge.
Yep.
Shift
Escape.
Escape. No, normally it's going to open in a smaller window. I was just not wanting to watch the ads. So there it is. And then we're looking at that first number.
Mm-hmm.
And that will need to hit.
I sorted to put the highest at the top.
Oh, yeah, you can just click on memory here.
Yeah.
And then that'll sort it either highest to lowest or lowest to highest.
Correct.
You've got your CPU usage, your network usage, and then the process ID to find in the task manager and processes that are running. So you can identify that specific process if you needed to end the task without shutting down every browser tab. That's pretty interesting. All right, well, thank you for that.
Of course.
All right, we're gonna close that. And we're back over to camera 1. So I think that's probably gonna wrap it up for today. You know what, let me just check the network. I'm pretty sure that's a 1 gig, but let me just verify what our connection speed is. We go over to our little network screen. We're going to go to network and internet settings. Wi-Fi is on, and I will connect it to Wi-Fi when I go to use it myself. But as far as Ethernet goes, we are connected at 1 gig. That's exactly right. We should be on a private network, not on a public one, so I'm going to change that. And then I want to go back to advanced sharing settings, or advanced network settings, and then advanced sharing. And I want to make sure that all of this is turned off on a public network, that network discovery is turned on if I want it to be able to see the NAS. I don't have to turn file and printer sharing on to see other shares, but if I want other people to see my stuff on my network, I would need to turn that on. And then under all networks, make sure that I want my public folder sharing off and I want password protected sharing off. Now beyond that, we still have to run the fixes that we've got regarding the guest fallback being disabled in 24H2 and the SMB authentication being enabled, which normally isn't, which is new to 24H2. And those are just a couple of PowerShell commands. You do not need to go into the registry. You can, it's another way to do it. But again, I'm recommending no registry tweaks for end users because they can have long-term consequences that are not immediately known. And apparently I've shut down my Windows Update screen, but again, Windows Update is still running in the background even when we close the window. See, it has not impacted that progress. Okay, so let me just see what's going on in the chat. Could it be affected by the amount of RAM the system has? My mini PC has 64 gigs of memory and it's not crashing. Mara, how much RAM does your helicopter have? I think she's got 64. Yeah, she's got 64. It doesn't seem to make a difference. LRCX said my Windows 10 has 32 gigs, is using 1550 or more. No, this is a programming error in the browser. That's all I can tell you. At least that's my understanding of it from what I'm reading online. I don't think it's anything you or I are going to be able to fix. But, you know, if you are playing with it and you're able to verify that you are crashing and making a change stops the crashing, if you can come that far with it, we'd love to know how you've done that, because that's the problem that is being discussed by people in the Reddit forums and in online forums that have yet to figure this out. Well, some people that made these browser extensions claim to have solved it, and some people are reporting the browser extension worked, and some people are claiming the browser extension did not work. So I don't know. It's a mystery to me, outside of my wheelhouse. I am not a programmer. But I know it's not a hardware problem, it's not a network problem, it is not an operating system issue. Phil Stott said he was watching a Steam game, watching the live stream. It's not about live stream, it's about live chat. So if you are to watch my video, and we don't want you to close out the chat room, but if you did, and you watched your memory usage in the browser tab, it stops growing. So that's a very easy thing you can replicate, that with the live chat open, the memory usage goes up, and with the live chat closed, the memory usage stays pretty flat. It's not about the stream at all. This is strictly a live chat issue. And it's got to be an active live chat. If the chat is really slow and there's not much, or people are putting a lot of like icons in the chat, a lot of, like if somebody in the chat starts throwing in a bunch of the emojis, for some reason, like if I just throw a bunch of these in here, if we start getting post after post of that, that will just eat up all the RAM usage in the browser and then expedite the crash. It's very, very weird. And that also is relevant to this issue, but exactly what it's doing and why it's different, I don't know yet. In time, that information I'm sure will be shared. Once it's disclosed, we'll have a solution, but likely the solution is still going to be a Chrome update, a browser update. But yeah, if we fill the chat room with those emojis, it'll likely cause that crash to expedite and happen where it may not have happened before. Sometimes in the chat room when we do these videos, it just scrolls and scrolls, right? And then you're more likely going to experience the crash when the chat room's really active. There's a lot of contributions, for example, a lot of emojis, things like that cause that memory usage to skyrocket. You can witness it here just by monitoring your memory usage. And based on the kind of messages and frequency of messages, you'll see that RAM usage go up accordingly. It's pretty fascinating to watch. Now, if you can figure out why that's happening, I'd love to know. And so would thousands of other people around the planet that are suffering this problem. And it's really Google's responsibility to fix it as far as I'm concerned. Let me go back over to camera 2 here and see if we're done updating now. Nope, still with this one last update. While we're waiting, I can get my flash drive out and we can copy over my utilities. We're probably going to see 5,000 megabytes per second or something on that internal SSD because it's Kingston. They're not slow and they're not fast. They're kind of in the middle of a Gen 4 drive performance. But we can multitask here, and it may be a reason to order bare bones is just don't buy it with that drive if you think that drive's not good enough for your needs. In my case, I wanted to be able to take it out of the box and do the review as it's sold, not as I configured it, because that's obviously going to cost more than $1,500. Yeah, we're going to save some money by not getting the RAM and SSD, but we're going to add more money because we're going to be putting in more RAM and more faster storage. So at the end of the day, it'll cost us more. And I feel like you can always buy a good review. In other words, I can take a piece of crap, throw money at it, make it better, and then review it. But that's not the way it was sold, and that therefore is an unfair review. Misleading, in my opinion. We're going to load, let's see, PC testing. We're going to load CPU Z over here, or not load it, but copy it. And Crystal Disk Mark Portable, we'll copy that. And Cinebench, we'll copy that. And hardware info to monitor our temps. We will definitely have to pick this up on a part 2 because we're going on 3 hours, just waiting on updates. So if you ever wonder why sometimes I will say, hey, I've already unboxed it and done the updates, it's so we can skip this amount of time and get right to the review. The problem with doing that is we're right back to this isn't how it came out of the box. So I feel like it's misleading that the review you're seeing is either being done without the updates, therefore not giving accurate results, or the updates have been done and hours have been spent prepping the computer for the review, which is not a true unboxing experience. This is all deception. Sometimes it doesn't make sense to do 3 hours of updates and you tell people, you tell your audience, for full disclosure, I've already taken it out of the box. I've already updated the graphics driver. Maybe there's AMD Adrenalin drivers, other drivers. I've already put on all the latest Windows updates. I've already cleaned the drive with all the temp files so that we are optimized for the best possible performance versus I just took it out of the box and here's how it works, which is not accurate. And then sometimes people don't hear you say it. So someone will say, oh, I ordered the computer and my experience doesn't match yours. How come? Well, did you update it? Well, I didn't see you update yours. Well, no, I said in the beginning of the video that I updated it. Oh, I guess I wasn't paying attention. So if I show it and then people complain, well, that took too long, they can't deny that they didn't see it. The internet, it's got every kind of person imaginable. And what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to do a little of everything. On a build this expensive, I want to show everything. On a build that's cheaper, I'll just mention I've already updated it. Leave it at that. If there's a BIOS update, that's not normal on a mini PC, and I will show it. I won't do that off camera. You've seen me do that with the G7 PT, for example. It's very unusual that a mini PC ever gets a BIOS update. This can run a RAID 0. We can configure the 2 NVMe drives. It's only got 1 in it, but we add another NVMe. We can boot this off RAID 0. I don't recommend ever making your boot drive a RAID array. It is a nightmare for maintenance and repairs. Strongly recommend against it. That's why when we're doing the ProArt Creator Board, there's going to be 4 NVMe's that are the D drive or data drive. That will be a RAID 0 for performance. Our main C drive is a Gen 5 drive, which is already super fast. And it stays away from the RAID because that way if we have any RAID issues, we can still boot the computer. And we don't need special driver injected rescue disks, which is very technical. And I don't understand why anybody would do that. To me, it's just dumb. But you can. If you want to, you can set that as a RAID 0 or RAID 1. No problem with RAID 1 if you wanted to do that, but it's not a backup. You still need to make backups, so, I'm just telling you what's available, and you do what's right, right? These are your options. But I would not use RAID on this. I wouldn't use 0 or 1. System's running really quiet right now. And again, I appreciate being able to hear when the system's working. That's reassuring to me that it's doing something. I don't want to hear it droning on all day. I only want to hear it ramp up. In the same way I expect my car to get a little louder when I put my foot to the floor to pass somebody. I want to hear that roar. But then when I'm cruising at normal when I'm cruising at normal speeds, I don't want to hear the engine. It should just be a nice quiet drive. I don't want to hear the rumbling of the tires like in a big Jeep. They can get very loud and annoying on a long road trip. When I'm passing somebody, absolutely, I want to hear that engine come to life. When I'm cruising, that engine should be unnoticeable. Much the same way, I expect the same in my computer. Normal operation should be whisper quiet. And when I'm asking it to do intensive tasks, I expect to hear that ramp up, come to life, and then quiet back down once it's complete. I can often tell when something is done simply by hearing it. I don't even have to look at the screen. So I can hear the fans ramping up right now, for example, and clearly there's a part of this Windows Update process that's requiring a lot of resources. That also tells me if I'm doing multitasking, I'm doing something else with the computer, and it feels like it's getting sluggish, those fans are telling me why it's getting sluggish, and to just hold off for a second, let it finish, or to continue as is, knowing to expect it to be sluggish until I hear those fans slow back down. That is universally true across every computer I've ever used. All right, so any final questions, comments? We're going to wrap it up for today, and let's see if I look at my, where did it go? Viewer activity tab. I'll shout out a thank you again to Vassos Sings and Talks Bible for your super chat contributions. David Graham, Planet Cryos, Aaron, and Dustin Fuller, Charlie Purdy, Mark Gaines, and our friend Buster. Thank you guys for all your super chats today. Thank you to all the members without whom we would not have the budget to have purchased this and review it. And there's a lot to review here. I do believe that if I'm reviewing a $1,500 machine or something that's what I would consider to be expensive, it deserves more than a cursory 2-hour review. I feel like we should get more in depth. The more we're spending, the more in depth we justifiably need to go to help understand why there is this price difference. Then you can understand if that's worth it for you to make that investment. Or maybe you're just curious, what makes this $1,000 or $1,500 when you can buy a mini PC for $150? We could buy 10 mini PCs for what this costs. So what makes this worth so much? And that takes more time because it can do so much more. I am very curious what that NVMe drive performance is though. So maybe we can wrap that up as the end of the video, assuming these updates are still going on. More cumulatives. Those cumulatives just kill me, man. I guess we'll pick up the drive performance on the next video. And I'll also do the disk cleanup off camera because that can take 20 to 30 minutes to clean up all these temp files that it's creating, including the old version of Windows. That will clean itself up in like 30 days, but I just want it all clean so that my performance benchmarks and review following up doesn't have any of this I don't know what you call it. These just extra bits laying around that are just weighing us down. They're not doing anything for us. They're definitely not helping performance. So if we're going to test it to see how good it can do, we need to remove all the dead weight. If you want to test and see how good the gas mileage is in a car, make sure the trunk is empty. If you got 10 pounds of, if you got 10 bags of 50-pound bags of cement, you got 500 pounds in the trunk, you're not going to get the best performance that the car is capable of, or the best gas mileage with all that dead weight. Get that stuff out of there to make accurate measurements. In much the same way, that's the same attitude we have with the PC. Now, over time, we are going to bog it down with temp files and, actually using it. But when it's brand new, we want to make sure we're fully updated. We want to make sure everything's clean. We don't have any of this detritus or dregs, whatever it's called, just this crap that's bogging us down that we are not usually aware of. You have to go in and know to look for this stuff and clean it. Then when we're benchmarking it or testing it, whether it's for heat or other things, we know we don't have all this extraneous stuff holding us back potentially. That potential is completely removed. We start with a nice clean new build. We measure it and we know this is as good as it can do when it's clean. Now, as you start loading it up with your stuff and you're using it and creating temp files, it's only going to get slower. What shouldn't be doing is getting faster unless you're physically adding more RAM or changing out an SSD or, physically changing the hardware. So we're just trying to go right out of the box and say, in a perfect world, what is this capable of performance-wise? And to do that accurately, we have to start with a clean slate. We have to have all of our updates, driver updates, Windows updates, all that has to be in place. All the temp files have to be cleaned. Any additional software, printers, all that, don't put any of that on yet because it affects our measurements of performance with this extra stuff dragging it down potentially. If you don't have the stuff on there, there's no potential for inaccurate results. That's the logic. And so often when you're watching these reviews, the reviewer's not disclosing any of that, or even that they checked. So does it make a difference? How would you know? Dustin Fuller says, great stream as always. Well, thank you, Dustin. Appreciate your kindness. And again, if you guys figure anything out on the memory leak, please share that knowledge with us. We're still exploring it and learning it. And you could certainly find a solution before we do. And I think that is going to wrap it up for us for today. This got really quiet. No, it's still working. Yeah, we're just going to let that run, let it finish, run the disk cleanup. And we will pick up on a part 2 tomorrow. Yeah, we'll set up part 2 for tomorrow. Thursday, I'll take off. And Friday, we'll plan on Mitch Morrison being here with an upgrade. And if my client is ready between now and then, we'll pick up their 200R that needs an upgrade and we'll schedule it either for the weekend or early next week. Should be a really easy upgrade. Then we'll have the Asus Z890 to finish. Hopefully we'll have all the parts in next week. We've got the Ultra 7 build to finish, and hopefully we'll get that done before Christmas. And we have 2 other builds on top of that. So it's been a little busy. Not to mention, I have a bunch of gadgets and stuff I want to show you guys, and some other non-review related, non-PC review related stuff. Maybe even like a networking refresher on sharing files and folders if time permits. And if you have suggestions for content you want to see, if we can make it, let us know, because we have a lot to share with you. We just don't know how much of that you're interested in. That's going to wrap it up for me for today. Thanks you guys so much. Thank you again. Lou Greenia, Frankie B. Let me go back. I just don't want to forget anybody. Giadarne. Look, I almost forgot to mention Giadarne. Thank you so much for the Amazon gift card. Charlie Purdy, thank you as well. I hope I got everybody and I haven't forgot anybody. Thanks to all of you, all the members and everybody hanging out in the chat. The community is just the most valuable thing this channel has to offer any viewer, and I hope people watching the videos when they're not live, or even if they are live, if you're not joining in our chat room, you are missing out on half of the benefit of this content because it's interactive. It's not TV. It's meant for us to communicate, not only you with me, but you with other viewers. And that can only happen during our live videos. And if you've not done it before, we hope you'll pop in and at least say hello. That'll wrap it up for me for today. Thank you to our friends at Acronis. Still 50% off for today and tomorrow on Acronis TrueImage. No special links are needed. 30% off RoboForm as always for new clients only. And 30% off the current Black Friday prices of Windows and Microsoft Office license keys at SCD keys, where PayPal is an accepted form of payment again. And that's why we're not at CDK deals anymore. It limited payment options. They're fine, nothing wrong with them, but a lot of people wanted PayPal back. Here's how we got it back. It's all the same products, all the same guarantees. If you have any problems or questions, you let me know. The email address, one more time, just to put it up as a reminder, is right there. You can reach out to us, and we're always happy to hear from you guys. And if there's any way we can help, we'll do our best, even if it's just to provide you with a link. Sometimes people want an explanation for something, and all you need is a link where it's already been explained. Other times, people may have some concerns about any of our endorsements here, and of course, reach out. I stand behind everything I endorse here. Find me another YouTube creator that does that for products they don't make. Acronis issues, RoboForm issues, or SCD key issues, should they arrive, reach out to the companies for help. And if they're not helping you the way you expect, reach out to us and we will find a solution for you. All right, that'll wrap it up. Thanks again to Mara for all the work she does in the background, all of those administrative tasks that she takes care of, the thumbnails and the video descriptions and setting up the videos, the upcoming videos. It's a lot of work, plus talking to potential sponsors or people that want us to review things. She does a lot of the email handling now, takes that burden off of me, and will bring your emails to my attention when they need to be. Otherwise, she can get to it much faster than me. And yeah, all our friends in green, all our friends in white, all our friends in blue, thanks for hanging out. We'll see you all again very, very soon. And until tomorrow, 1 o'clock, part 2. Bye for now.